themed United Frontiers, growth powered by innovation, collaboration, and compliance. Today marks another exciting stop in our national engagement series, a journey that began in Enugu last week, Tuesday, and will be concluding it in Lagos on the 11th of November 2025. Through TechConnect, we at Interswitch are creating platforms for open dialogue, collaboration, and shared progress across Nigeria's fast-evolving digital space. For over two decades, Interswitch has remained at the forefront of Africa's payments and digital transformation, building the infrastructure that connects millions of people, businesses, merchants, institutions, governments, and this is done every single day. And I think Interswitch deserves a round of applause. But beyond technology, what truly defines us is our commitment to partnership, our commitment to working with regulators, and our commitment to working with financial institutions, financial technology companies, and enterprises, businesses, to ensure that innovation serves real people and drive lasting impacts. In this year's edition, which we have themed United Frontiers, Growth Powered by Innovation, Collaboration, and Compliance, we are reflecting the truths which we have proven time and again, that single player can shape Africa's digital future alone. That no single player can shape Africa's digital future alone. Real scalable growth happens when innovation, collaboration, and compliance work hand in hand. When innovators create boldly, regulators enable wisely, and every stakeholder shares a common goal of inclusion and trust. Through today's sessions, the keynotes, the panel discussion, the fireside chats, and the networking, we'll be exploring practical ways to strengthen these connections and unlock new opportunities for growth. So on behalf of Interswitch Group, I'd like to thank our partners. It took us some good engagement to bring in some of the people that we are seeing in this room. Last year, we tried to bring in the National Association of Microfinance Banks in Nigeria. Somehow, the logistics wasn't working for them. But this year, we've been able to achieve that. So I'd like to give a wonderful thank you to the Executive Secretary of National Association of Microfinance Banks in Nigeria, Mr. Erok. Thank you for coming. So on behalf of Interswitch Group, I'd like to thank you all, our partners, our regulators, the industry leaders who have joined us today. Today happened to be one of those days that one of our big regulators, one of the players in this data space, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, is having a meeting this same day. But I've seen a couple of PSSPs that took time to be here this morning. So I'd like to appreciate all the PSSPs that made out time to be here this morning. Please, let's give them a round of applause once again. So your presence reaffirms the shared vision we all hold to power a smarter, more inclusive Africa through technology and collaboration. So as we begin, I encourage all of us to engage fully, share ideas freely, and work together to shape a digital ecosystem that truly reflects the spirit of United Frontiers. Welcome once again to the Abuja edition of TechConnect 5.0. Together, let's keep advancing Africa growth through innovation, collaboration, and compliance. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, AY. Thank you for that wonderful welcoming speech. And I just want to ask, and I might call names if I don't get a hand to answer me. What is the theme of this year's TechConnect? I need a hand. And I will give you the mic, and you are going. All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. So without further ado, I'm going to call the keynote speaker, and he goes by the name Mr. Eddie Kwasi Orok, Executive Secretary, National Association of Microfinance Banks. Are we not clapping? Are we not happy to have him here? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Before I read the speech, I want to thank Interswitch for putting this together and for being a very strong partner to the Association of Microfinance Banks, and for always showing up, and for all the creativity and for innovation, for all the good work you have done in the financial ecosystem space. Thank you very much. We cannot thank you enough. Okay, so I'll read the keynote address for this event, themed United Frontiers, growth powered by innovation, collaboration, and compliance. I'm particularly awed by the team, especially when it comes to compliance, because a lot of the work that we do around the financial ecosystem relies on a lot of compliance activity. Compliance talks about trust. So when there's no compliance, we open up that space for a lot of fraudulent activities. And I was just sharing with my colleagues, the criminals are not sleeping. The criminals are thinking beyond what you can ever imagine. All right. So distinguished regulators, esteemed partners, innovators, captain of industries, ladies and gentlemen, all the speakers, all the panelists, and discussants that are here, good morning. It is indeed an honor to be here at the TechConnect 5.0, taking place in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, synonymous as the hub of governance, regulation, and policy alignment. Let me begin by commending Interswitch, the convener of this important engagement series. For over 2 decades, Interswitch has remained a trailblazer and trusted enabler of Africa's digital payments ecosystem, building the rails that connect millions of people, businesses, and institutions. From powering instant payments and digital commerce to championing interoperability and financial inclusion, Interswitch has consistently demonstrated that true innovation is not about disruption alone, but creating shared values across the entire financial landscape. And I think this is important because many times we just look at the disruptions that come into the space and what happens after that disruptions. And in the tech space, you are well aware that there are many startups that just emerge, and within a couple of days, they're out of business. And for Interswitch to do this over and over again, I think they deserve a round of applause. The theme of this year's gathering, United Frontiers, growth powered by innovation, collaboration, and compliance, could not be more fitting, especially in today's dynamic financial climate. And indeed, it's dynamic. It's dynamic. The theme is a reminder that no single player can transform Africa's digital future alone. True progress comes when innovation, regulation, and partnership move in harmony. This reflects not only the work Interswitch has done over the years, but also the task before all of us as stakeholders in the Nigerian digital economy. So it's a task for all of us to continue to collaborate, to continue to partner. I know there are tech innovators in the room that are also partnering with Interswitch and other development institutions. I think it's a task for all of us to look at how we can ensure that we have a sane financial ecosystem. Over the past decades, we have witnessed remarkable transformation. We continue to provide all the needed services that you would need. And thanks to Interswitch, again, for being an enabler for this transformation. But the progress has not happened in isolation. It is a product of sustained collaboration between regulators, operators, fintechs, and technology partners like Interswitch, who continue to provide infrastructure and expertise that keep the ecosystem thriving. This is the power of partnership, and it lies at the heart of today's theme. Again, no single player can transform Africa's financial future alone. Sustainable growth requires united frontiers, financing innovators who build, regulators who enable, and financial institutions that empower. We must also remember that compliance is not a hindrance to progress, but a foundation for trust. When consumers, investors, and regulators have confidence in the integrity of our systems, innovation can flourish responsibly. Compliance ensures that growth is not just fast, but sustainable, and that inclusion is not just wide, but deep. This is precisely what makes TechConnect such an important initiative, and thanks to Interswitch again. It is not just a technology showcase. It is a space for dialogue, collaboration, and shared vision. A platform where innovation meets regulation and where ideas evolve into collective strategy and inclusive growth. As we participate in today's session, from the keynote insight to the fireside chats and the panel discussion, I encourage us all to view one another as partners in progress. Let us build on what Interswitch has started with this platform, aligning innovation with policy, bridging digital divides, and unlocking opportunities that empower every Nigerian, from the market trader to the digital entrepreneur. And I was just sharing with Ayo a couple of moments ago. We have a lot of institutions that are yet to go digital. Some of the reasons may include the digital naivety of the institutions themselves, the cost of technology itself. So if there's a way we can bridge, that divide and have an inclusive drive to have all financial players in the digital ecosystem, I think we would solve a major problem for Nigeria. As I speak today, there are still communities that are huge on cash, very huge on cash. And we can't track a lot of the activities of kidnapping and all of that thrive because we still have an ecosystem that still encourages a lot of cash movement. So if we all partner and drive digital, I think we can reduce a lot of the issues that we have as a country. At NAM, we remain fully committed to working alongside Interswitch and other ecosystem players to strengthen our digital infrastructure and expand financial inclusion, and ensure that innovation continues to serve people, not just system. Together, we can build a financial ecosystem that is innovative, compliant, and inclusive, one that truly reflects the spirit of United Frontiers. Ladies and gentlemen, as I end this keynote address, I want to welcome you to the TechConnect 5.0 Abuja. Welcome to a future powered by innovation, collaboration, and a shared purpose. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. So we've seen that today is not possible for technology to grow without collaboration, innovation, and compliance. Mr. Eddie has actually did justice to that team. Thank you very much again. So I don't know, I just want to shake the table a little bit. Can someone tell us the theme of this year TechConnect? Okay. The expo is already on the screen. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this event promises to be a very interesting one. So next in line, we are going to a fireside chat. And please, okay. The next event is fireside chat. And then I would like to call on Suliat Aliyu. She is our head partnership Interswitch, and she will be moderating this fireside chat. Suliat, please a round of applause as she welcome her on stage.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to TechConnect 5.0. You're very welcome, and as the MC has duly introduced, I'll be moderating the fireside chat today. So the topic we'll be discussing is the role of regulation and innovation in shaping the future payments ecosystem. And as we all know, payments today goes beyond just transacting, but they're also about enabling trust, innovation, and growth across the economy. But for innovation in payments to truly thrive, we are also aware that regulation needs to evolve in such a way that balances the growth and the opportunities that comes from this innovation with security and trust for the everyday people. So joining me in the conversation today are two distinguished industry leaders who will be sharing their perspective, bringing the conversation to life from both the innovation and the regulatory perspective so that we can have a rich discussion. So please welcome with a very sound round of applause, Dr. Charles Bassi, Executive Director at Nigeria Microfinance Bank. Thank you very much. Also join me in welcoming a resounding round of applause, Thomas Eze, Vice President, Government Relations and Regulatory Affairs at Interswitch Group. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. Okay, you're both welcome, and a big thank you for joining us on today's fireside chat. Are we ready? All right, thank you. So we'll get into it. My first question would go to Dr. Bassi. So Doctor, looking back over the last 5 to 10 years, how would you say innovation and regulation together have shaped the payment ecosystem that we see today?
Thank you, Suliat, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Interswitch, for having us here this morning. I think sometime in 2006, if you look at, for those who have been in the industry for that long, you probably would know that we had challenges with how to use our card systems and the various technologies that we had to use for payment. And so as early as 2006, there had been consistent effort from the regulatory point to deepen the payment system. And up to the time we had the Nigerian payment system strategy. And currently, we are also expanding and extending that to 2028. How has innovation and regulation worked out in this perspective? We have understood the fact that as organizations, businesses, there have been consistent effort at driving innovation. Businesses are always innovating, finding new ways of doing things and connecting people. But technology, regulation had to step in to sort of guide that process, because you need to build security, you need to build trust. And one of the earliest things that has come out of that was consumer protection. Because when innovation drives businesses, you want to protect all of the partners, all of the people who are in that ecosystem. And that is one aspect. Consumer protection became a lot more deepened. Financial inclusion, because innovation broadened the space of our businesses and engagement. And through regulation, we're able to reach more people, save more people, even up to the last mile. And to a very great extent, through a combination of safe, secure systems and guiding that process to ensure that there is stability. There is also some kind of structure. Whoever wants to come on board and take part in that ecosystem, it's allowed to do that, but you have to follow the rules. And so regulation gave impetus and drove that. Sometimes there could be tensions here and there, but those tensions, they're actually part of our human nature. And so it was pretty much driven by the need to protect the consumer and all of the parties involved, and at the same time expand the financial space for as many people as possible.
Thank you so much, Dr. Basi. I mean, from what you've said, it's very clear that all the policies and the groundwork laid by the regulators have actually enabled a structure where innovation can flourish in a responsible manner. Safety and security of the everyday people within the payment ecosystem is very paramount, right? So let's also look at the innovation side of things so that we can see how all these policy frameworks also translate into real-world impact. So Thomas, this is for you. From Interswitch's perspective, over the last 5 to 10 years, what key innovations would you say have been the game changer that have really led to growth within the payment ecosystem today?
Okay, Celia, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's a great opportunity to be here to address very high-level expertise people in the industry. Since the early 2000s, we've seen a lot of changes in the ecosystem. I've been in the industry for about 25 years myself, and I recall those days, I don't know if you remember, where you have to load your card before you can do a transaction. Then think back like that and then look at today. In between all of that, we had a period where we used to have this thing called ATM cards. Remember ATM cards? They are not cheap cards. There are a lot of fraud activities that have happened. Regulation and innovation brought about EMV cards. So today, you have to have a card as EMV and then, of course, use a PIN. Innovation actually brought that to bear. Interswitch was one of the first companies in the country that brought about the EMV cards. Of course, we later have Visa and MasterCard on board. But today, the VEV card is one of the African leading local domestic cards in Africa. I think we should put our hands together for that. We have VEV card across many countries in Africa, and we are improving and growing our cross-border transactions. There are many other areas. I also remember many years ago, around point of sale. Remember our point of sale, you can't take your MasterCard or Visa card or ATM card at that time to certain POSs, and it will work in this particular POS. It won't work in this other POS. So you have a merchant having 2 POSs to accept a particular kind of card, and then another POS to accept another kind of card. Regulation, innovation brought about what we have today. Sometimes you forget how much we have grown and how much we are growing. Today, we have a situation where we have interoperability working. You can pick a card, MasterCard, Visa card, Wave card, and go to any point of sale, and you can perform your transaction as you wish. There are many other areas around innovation, around support, around ATM. Remember our ATM challenges that we had, and we've seen how regulation has brought more need around fraud checks, the policies that required companies to deploy fraud-related solutions so that we can prevent, no matter what you do, there has to be fraud. But if you deploy innovation, deploy solutions, you're going to reduce and monitor and track what is happening in that field. So Interswitch has been in the forefront in all these areas, and then there are many more innovations we are deploying for microfinance banks, for various sectors in the health space. There's so many things we're doing, and we'll continue to do and provide all the solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas, and also for sharing the Interswitch story. And it really shows that investment in innovation actually causes growth not only within the financial sector, because what this has done with the Interswitch story you mentioned is it has also caused ripple growth across many other sectors as well. And I think you also pointed out how innovation isn't just about new tech, right, but rather reimagining what convenience means for the everyday people and building around that. So this would take us to the next question for Dr. Bassi, because when we're talking about building, I mean, we've emphasized this a lot of times in the chats and in the keynote speech, regulation needs to also enable that. But we've heard many times how regulations, or people think regulations are a barrier to flexibility in innovating. So Dr. Bassi, can you share with us in what ways have regulations actually enabled innovation to thrive in Nigeria's payment ecosystem?
Thank you, Suliat. Perhaps in responding to these, let me give a little bit of a context using the idea of trust. When you operate within the financial system, the very basic ingredient, the value you want to bring and also even engage with is trust. Yes. And trust starts not from something external, but from you, the person. Do you trust the system? Do you even trust yourself that when you engage with the system, it's going to serve you? And what is the extent of expectations you would have on the system? And so that very basic level of self-trust, it's what we begin to think about when you also think about regulation. Because from self-trust, you begin to talk about relational trust. You trust yourself, but you trust the person you're relating with or the system you're relating with. And then you get on to whether it's the organization or it's the market or it's the society. And so when you look at the layers of trust, that is how the regulation is also shaping it. Regulation creates that space through, for instance, this regulatory sandbox framework that is existing to allow innovators test and learn within a given space and a controlled environment to say, okay, fine, we can to an extent trust the system to deliver this good. If you do not provide that kind of framework, and then there will be problem naturally. And so what regulation has done to drive, in order not to stifle innovation, is to build some elements of trust across the entire layers. And that, for me, is very important. The second dimension I would also like to touch on is even the tiered process. As it is right now in the Nigerian financial system, you have different players who are playing at different levels, whether you are a multinational bank or a national bank, a regional bank, or just a fintech, or just a payment service provider. And so you have different players. What that sort of highlights is the need for collaboration, the need for partnership. And those linkages that tend to drive those kind of partnerships must be guided by some form of regulation in order to reduce possibility of exploitation or monopoly. And to a very great extent, regulation has been able to drive this sort of framework or ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And yeah, right, the trust and all the structure you mentioned that regulations bring are what makes innovation to be sustainable. So to our dear innovators across fintechs, across banking and many other sectors, even though it's tough, but the truth of the matter is, like Dr. Bassi has also mentioned, all these policies and regulations are there to make sure that what we are building, the growth we are achieving are actually sustainable for the foreseeable future. And the truth also is that a well-designed policy also enables investment to be attracted into the ecosystem so that we can build more. So I would say it's a necessity. Thank you so much, Dr. Bassi. I have a follow-on question to that for you. So the theme of this year's TechConnect event is collaboration. So how can all these stakeholders, the innovators, the regulators, and the financial institutions, how can we all work better together to build a thriving payment ecosystem in Nigeria?
Thank you. The starting point for me, when I think about things, it's user needs,
Yes.
research and development. And this is very basic. Before you begin to think of giving a service to an individual, either as a regulator or as an operator, you want to ask yourself, what is the need I'm addressing? And from the regulatory point, there is always that constant debate or constant research to find out what is happening within the system. Are we stifling development to a very great extent? And I will point to the current geotagging framework or policy expectations on point of sale. If you look back at a whole lot of issues that probably have led to that, expecting all of point of sales terminals within this month to be geotagged so that we can, within a period, track where they operate. You would get to understand the fact that you walk into a commercial bank or just in front of a commercial bank, you find a point of sale there. That was not the intention, to have a point of sale operator right in front of the commercial bank. It was meant to provide services through agent banking, financial service inclusion, and expand the space to areas that those services are not available. And so when you look at regulation trying to drive collaboration and partnership, the idea is, who are those playing within the system? What is the nature of relationship? And this has extended to a point that I remember when Central Bank established the National Collateral Registry as a means of expanding opportunity for non-tangible collaterals to be used or registered either like a vehicle. If you want to take a loan from the bank, you can register your vehicle and use that as a facility. And that sort of saves the institution lending you that from, having to, for that collateral to be used for something else. And then, of course, the global standing instruction, where people, prior to the time it came on board, people would take money from this bank and then run to some other institution and abandon their account. And so with just that kind of technology and the regulation surrounding the global standing instruction, people are beginning to be more innovative in a negative manner to beat the system, because they probably have recognized that the current focus is on individual accounts, so they're moving into the corporate accounts. But of course, regulation is also responding to that and saying we need to expand that space so that there will be liabilities on corporate entities. So if you look at all of these tensions, the key thing is that regulation could sometimes come as a consequence of lag, but it could also be a driver in terms of trailing and said, you know what, we do not want to wait until these problems emerge. We can begin to build on them. And I think that's part of what has driven the Payment System Vision 2028, where the idea or the focus is to drive global competitiveness. That is where I will leave it for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, I like how you mentioned, how you brought up the geotagging regulation, because that is a classical example of how regulations can birth collaboration and innovation, because a lot of companies now are seeking who to partner with in order to beat the deadline, in order to ensure that Their POS terminals can be geotagged and all those things. So we see new innovations coming up. We see new collaborations and partnerships coming up as well. So Thomas, let's talk more about partnerships because they are the drivers of growth, right? So how are strategic partnerships also specifically helping to shape the payment ecosystem in Nigeria?
Thank you again, Soda, for that question. You know, for us at Interswitch, you look at us from a perspective from the outside, and you see a company, but inside the company, what you don't see very clearly is the level of collaboration and partnership that we have. You look at the ecosystem from a various industry perspective or from industry players. Many of the people that you see as our competition, they actually are partners. They actually are our collaborators to move the industry forward. And the industry has really grown because of partnership. I recall about 10, 15 years ago where we had this discussion within the office. And we said that the industry is growing. That was when the regulations were coming out and things were happening. New companies were coming on board. And we just put a pause. And we said, you know what? Should we stifle this growth or should we encourage this growth for the country? You know, there's this thing I say that competition will improve your innovation, but collaboration will improve the growth of a country. So these were the things we thought about many years ago, and we insisted that that was the direction that we'll go. So we innovated our backend, produced platform APIs deliberately for the purpose of collaboration. And today, as a country, we can all bear witness to what has happened to us. I have been in industry from the back end, and I can see the growth. I'm amazed and very pleased at the things that have happened within the country. I recall when I was managing POS business within the company many years ago, and we are struggling to ensure we have about 2,000 POS terminals within the industry, 5,000 POS terminals. We had a target of 10,000 POS terminals. Today, in the industry, we have tens of millions of points of devices. We have trillions of transactions happening. Why? Because collaboration came to be. Collaboration also comes through regulation. I mentioned earlier around the policy around centralized point of sale. In 2011, 2012, where they insisted that all POSs should be connected to the central system. You remember I said before that POSs were just there. But regulation came and we were forced to collaborate. And clearly, that brought us to where we are today. We've seen the same thing in many other sectors and many other policies, agency banking. In agency banking, most of the agents you see out there, they are connected to us also. So is a beautiful reality and a beautiful need for the growth of the nation to encourage collaboration. Collaboration should continue in conversations with the regulators because, as Doctor said, we are looking forward to seeing regulations that have gone through deep, interesting conversations with the relevant stakeholders. So when it comes out, it's for the growth of the country rather than stifling the growth of the industry in which we are in. And the impact of such collaboration shows itself in the economy. You look at what's happening, the number of investment that have come into the country because the industry is growing. Of course, every investor we're looking at countries or industries that is growing and they want to invest in it. And we've seen that coming into Nigeria within the past 3 or 4 years. $2 billion as foreign direct investment have come into the country because of what we have achieved through our collaboration. Thank you
so much. First of all, I think a big round of applause for Interswitch. Thomas has really shared a lot of interesting stories on how Interswitch has really contributed to driving the payment ecosystem in Nigeria, so thank you. Now, beyond all these talks of how we can collaborate and how we can innovate, I think the bigger story is also the impact that all this brings. So can you both share with us, starting with Dr. Basti, how has payment innovation and regulation contributed to broader economic growth and also social impact?
Thank you, Solead. When you look at the nature of transactions that take place on a daily basis, it's so enormous that you would ask yourself, if these were not to be the case, what would have happened? We don't want to think about the reverse. if such payment capabilities were not available in our economy. Right now, you do not need to be physically present to have transactions take place. When we had conversations, around the geotagging issues, and people were asking what is going to happen with the payment system, the point of sales, given the fact that some of them would need to be upgraded to a certain level for them to be compatible for incorporation into the national switching system. The question is this: we want an economy that is growing at a very fast rate, but at the same time, is not distorted by markets challenges that we cannot determine where the growth pattern is coming from. We've had the key players on the mobile transaction system, issues that come from people moving so much money within a particular area through the POS system, and we couldn't track this money, and it brings distortion to the market. And you begin to say, yes, there's so much money moving, but what is happening? You need to understand, because that's the first thing. When it comes to policy design and policy implementation, you need to understand the tension points. If you don't understand the tension points, you are not going to be able to solve what the issues are. And so understanding the tension point is one of the things that also driven regulation around the geotagging and related issues. When you understand that tension point, you can now see clearly, beginning from January, when the new tax regime comes in, you will see whatever channel a transaction takes place through, there will be some information. So there's going to be more robust data, because that data will now enable economic planning in a more effective manner. There will be greater accountability in terms of who is earning what and who is not earning what. Some of those distortions will be addressed. And that's where very good collaboration comes in between the operator part, because Interswitch, for instance, as a big, I say from the point of critical national infrastructure, a lot of other service providers are dependent on their infrastructure. And so what that means is that if they do what they're supposed to do within the bounds of regulation, and the various dependent players also act, the national economy can benefit more effectively in terms of data processing, in terms of the volume and understanding of the dynamics that take place within the financial system, and plan more effectively. Until that data can be said to be credible enough to determine policy decisions, there will be a problem. And so that is where collaboration is even more important to drive economic growth. With data generated, with cleaner data, more credible data as a source for policy design, we can expect our economy to grow more meaningfully and not be distorted to a very great extent. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thomas, can we hear from you as well?
Yes, let me add some more things to what Dr. said. He seems to have covered many of the areas. I don't know if many of you recall, there was this advert and around cash some years ago, where you have to put cash under your pillow, and then you wake up in the morning, you can find the cash again, and so on. These are incredible real life stories that have happened. Even as you grow older, you also recall that you have to take cash away from your house and take to the bank. From your businesses, people have lost money, millions of money they've kept in their business space because they can't move it to the bank through the weekend or something. But with what innovation has brought to be today, in fact, you see people selling suya. I'm sure you can bear with that. For those of us that eat suya a lot, you go on to buy suya and say, okay, transfer or POS, use your card. The impact in the society from the last cashless policy, 2022 till now, the impact has been tremendous in the way we live our lives. We want to do a transaction, you go to the market, even the market woman, you want to make payment for meat, and you can actually. I remember about 10 years ago, and you want to make a payment in the market, it must be cash. Card is not even in the picture. talk less of transferring money to your account. Because if you transfer, how do I confirm that the money has come? You know, as easy as it looks now, because when you innovate, it's not easy. Remember the days we drive horses, you ride horses, or you walk. Now you're driving cars. It's easy to enter the car. You forget that our forefathers actually walked 10 kilometers to get to their destination. But today, you're in a marketplace. You want to make a payment. You just say, give me your account number. Make a transfer to you. And you transfer, and the woman gets an alert. Even the alert system is an innovation. It's an innovation. So there is huge social impact, as the doctor has said, and it provides government opportunity to drive policies based on data. You can easily say, we've seen transactions, it's coming from this sector, it's coming from this sector. Let's put more investment. Let's create more policies around this area. And then also when it comes to impact of fraud and the rest of it, government can come up with regulation that can help corner those fraudulent activities. One of the reasons why we're having this new PS policy is because of fraud and misbehavior we've seen in the sector. Okay? So these things, they come along and make our lives better and easier. There have been, in terms of empowerment, people empowerment, capacity building. If you don't know, this industry started about effectively, strongly, late 90s and early 2000s. Between then and now, the number of skillful employees in this sector, in the banking sector, the electronic banking departments, as they call them in the banking sector, the number of people that they have employed whose focus is just electronic banking. Or is it the industry? We have over 200 startups in Nigeria today, with each of them having 10, 20 employees. So this industry has employed so many people. So people empowerment, skill building. We've trained people in this industry that have left us. Unfortunately, some of them have, now, they have jackpot. But we still have many of them here, and they're still coming back. So the impact of human impacts, people empowerment, economic growth, because you can easily do your business and you've not lost your money, you can use the money you've put in your bank and expand it and do more business. Now that the fintechs, the small microfinance banks or the mobile money operators, they can give, and they're even giving loan to these market people. So it's economic empowerment. So it's in all these sectors, huge impact that we can see, okay? And it's also going to help us get to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also thank Dr. Bassi as well for the insights he shared. I think the summary of what both speakers have shared is that payments don't just power economies, but also our everyday lives. And as you were both talking, I was just thinking, I can't imagine a day where my payment card doesn't work on a global child day, on a day when I'm hungry, to be like, what is going on with the world? And that just goes to show you how deeply ingrained, quick, convenient payments have been in our everyday lives. Thank you for bringing that home for the audience. So to my next question for both of you, we'll start off with Thomas. So looking ahead, what emerging opportunities should stakeholders position for in the evolving payment landscape?
Okay, so again, the interesting thing about innovation is that it never stops. It's a continuous thing. I mentioned a few of them. Today we are talking about AI in various areas for research. People are getting lazier now. You want to write a proposal, you just say AI, take, bam, and everything is just submitted. Within 2 days, it's out. It's good because you can save time to do other things. So invest in your AI innovative activities in your companies because you can use it in various areas. Cross-border payments is growing with the continuous growth of jackparism. There's a need for cross-border innovative activities to continue because people have to send money home. People have to send, in fact, before they send money home, we are now also sending money abroad. So it's a two-way thing. So if you build cross-border payments activities for your companies, there are opportunities that are there. Open AIs, I mentioned that earlier. The continuous growth in that is required, okay? For the need for collaborative activities because not every company will be able to build the required technology to develop what they want, but they can collaborate with other people that have built, APIs that can help them meet what they require in their business. Blockchain is another area that I find very interesting, and it can be used in various sectors, in health, in real estate, in education, even in election. Hopefully, it will help us soon if we implement it. So there are many areas in which, that are emerging, and I think everybody can take advantage of those areas. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I also want to add to what Thomas said, Interswitch is also building solutions around all these areas of emerging technology that Thomas has mentioned, from cross-border payments to AI technology to blockchain technology. Interswitch is doing one or two things in those areas, so do feel free to reach out to any Interswitch member you see to discuss partnerships. Dr. Bassi, can we also hear from you on this as well?
Okay, thank you. I probably would give my own entry from 3 dimensions: the consumer, the operators, and the regulators. For the consumer, we need to understand that regulation and operation are actually meant to save you. People will need to be educated and given the kind of awareness and knowledge to trust that if they do not begin to engage effectively and utilize opportunities which technology and regulation and innovation also give to them, they probably would be at a loss. So that is one aspect that partnerships like Interswitch and all of the operators will need to drive. A lot of consumers may still be laid back, but artificial intelligence in terms of transfers are taking place within just using your WhatsApp platform and having a chat, and money leaves your account directly. And so the consumers will need to be brought into that awareness, whether it's going to be a eureka or some kind of epiphany, I would say, to understand that we are on a long journey and this is a future. And so they should be facing the future direction. They shouldn't be backing the future, so to say. And so that sort of happens within the consumer perspective. And of course, for the operators, the concern or the focus would be to pay attention to human-centered design thinking in terms of their research, in terms of their innovation, in terms of the facilities they bring to the fore. Interswitch is talking about doing a whole lot around the different points, which Thomas has highlighted. It's important that when you're designing those solutions or even thinking through them, you have to ask yourself, what is the profile of the person who is going to use it in terms of the demographic, in terms of the need, in terms of exposure, so that you don't just bring something and you just want to force it on us from an engineering point. It's like turning the funnel around. Leave the engineering part, but also focus on the clinical part. Let solutions be responsive to needs, to challenges. And of course, to the regulators, they must understand that people are investing a lot of money, and sometimes the turnaround time to scale such investment for effective return on investment may not require so much a long time. And so regulators will also have to be activist-minded and think also of the markets and begin to think that we have to expand the space to allow more engagement. Because really, what has happened in Nigeria is that increasingly we have seen opportunities where operators themselves also drive even certain policies because of that engagement space that has been given. Of course, there are rooms for improvement. A couple of conversations are still going on, even with the tax regime. And so that shows that we are in an evolutionary trend. The 3 parties, I would say, the consumers, the operators, and the regulators must meet at a certain point to protect the interest of all the parties, to foster and build trust, and create awareness and understanding that can make people engage with the ecosystem more comfortably. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now let's move to the last question of the day for both our speakers. We've heard a lot about collaboration, innovation. So looking further ahead into the future, can you both share with us what do you think will ultimately define the future of payments in Africa, and what must we all do today to ensure that we remain both innovative and compliant? Dr. Bassi, can we start with you?
Okay. A short thing on my head would be global competitiveness. You know, when we look at Africa, what is it that we want to compete against? What is it that we have to the table? We always talk about our large scale, our large population, but that itself, it's not enough. China can beat us to that combined with India. So we have to look at what is it that we are bringing to the table, and why is our payment system not fully integrated into the global payment system? And what are the points of tension? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a credit orientation, a credit culture thing? Or is it a policy thing? Or is it about a leadership flaw? We need to be able to get to the modular level and identify what those tensions are. That is how we can more effectively engage with the future. The Nigerian Payment System Vision 2028, it's interested in deepening financial inclusion and also driving global competitiveness. There are still portions in Nigerian geographic landscape that do not have access to financial services. And there's so many of them that they need to be reached. And so if the future must serve them, artificial intelligence must be leveraged effectively, that when somebody has access to any mobile system, whether it's through the USSD or through the Nokia, whatever phone that has not evolved, that person should be able to trust a system of engagement with the financial ecosystem. And that system should save his or her needs immediately. That way, we can build a future that we really desire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
Yeah, okay. I will speak from the perspective of development and the need to design innovation with respect to meeting compliance, okay, and safety, okay. What do I mean by that? As we move further into the future, our other guys are also continuously innovating. There have been stories around before, you can't perform a transaction without a PIN or even your OTP. We've seen fraudulent cases where you did not give anybody your PIN, you did not give anybody your OTP, but you've got debit from your account. Okay, so the continuous need to design our solutions to meet a balance of innovation and safety is critical as we move further into all the things the doctor has mentioned. We are speaking about expanding into the global space. What are the global standards that we need to ensure that we meet? What are the things we need to do to improve in terms of our collaborativeness of our solution in Africa in terms of standards? African trade, what are we discussing as a collaborative countries, even in West Africa where we have very close knitted activities? What are we building? What solutions are we building? The need to continuously ensure that we sit down on the table and have conversations in terms of standards and building solutions to create balance between everything that we do, innovation and safety, is very critical as we move to the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very fitting way to close. A future where payment is seamless and empowering for everyone is truly the future. So thank you, Dr. Basti and Thomas, for this very rich and very thought-provoking conversation. And I think you both clearly captured the essence of this year's TechConnect theme, which is United Frontiers, good powered by innovation, collaboration, and compliance. And I think the key takeaway message here is that the future of payments in Africa will ultimately be powered by partnerships. A situation where all the collaborators, innovators, the regulators, and all the financial institutions come together to build payment ecosystems and inclusive and empowering for everyone to drive growth. So thank you both to our panel members for bringing this home for us. And also a big thank you to the audience as well for joining us in this interesting conversation. A round of applause once again for Dr. Basti and Thomas.
Please let's give them a round of applause one more time. Thank you so much. How many of us agree that that was a very exciting session? Was it? Say hello, say hello. Yeah, I see the selfies. Thank you. That's good. It's just sad that nobody can even say, let me take a selfie with you. Me too, I'll be an MD. I will create my company. All right, thank you so much. So like I said, I was going to put some people on the spot. So I have a question. So if you could, we're still taking selfies. Okay. Okay, I didn't tell you to stop. Okay, please. Thank you. Enough of the selfies. Thank you. So if you could change the fintech regulator relationship, if you had the opportunity to change it or start it from the scratch, what would you do differently? Should I call someone or someone would help us? So if you had the ability to change the fintech regulator relationship from the scratch, what would be that different thing that you would do? Thank you so much, sir. Please, you can introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Mondrick Sehianeta from CEO of Cashbridge. Okay, what I would do differently would be in the area of robust conversations around changes. People make heavy investment. They cannot read your mind. For instance, somebody is paying $85, $90, $120 per POS, working with the regulation that is available today. You come out and just send one memo. So the point here what I'm making is there should actually be a lot of collaboration, a lot of conversation, because whatever you are even doing, ultimately we will benefit. But if it's that continuous engagement, active engagement, like listening to the gentleman from Interswitch, it gives me an idea where the market is going. So if I'm going to invest, I would rather have those level of engagement. But if you are not engaging, we are not collaborating, we are not jointly thinking, and you roll out regulations, it hurts the system. There are two things that will happen. They say when you apply pressure, some people fold when you apply pressure, but some people focus. So when you send out things like this, you put me on a thinking mode. Am I going to die obeying this, or what do I do? But if there is that enough engagement before if you even ask me, I might have a better idea to solve the problem you are trying to solve, the challenge that you are trying to deal with. So I will sum it up so that I don't take your time. Constant, rigorous thinking, constant engagement will work for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It seems you spoke the mind of a lot of people because I was here, yes. Okay, so who would like to go again? After all the yes, who would like to, say something, add another point to what he has said? He said if you apply pressure, some will fold and some will focus. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to say I'll be happier if at any point in this country we'll see regulations somehow going ahead of some of the events that happen. I've discovered over time that a lot of regulations that come up is a response to what has happened. In some situations, if you talk about fraudulent activity, it will have happened, and some people are victims negatively. They are affected before we see regulation to curb that very instances. Talk about the POS geotagging now. Some years ago, even some months ago, a lot of people were victims of one thing or the other as a result of that, the use of whatever, because there was no geotagging. Now geotagging is taking the place. A lot of people are falling a victim of one fraud or the other, and they have died. Even some people have died, have made the end of their life as a result of a bad effect of the result of geotagging, because geotagging was not in place. We've seen an industry where a kind of the regulation is pursuing after the fraudulent activities, trying to meet up with them and curb that problem so far. Meanwhile, if we were proactive enough, we're thinking ahead of time, it would have been that the regulation will be there in place. Even if the fraudsters wants to do it, because of the regulation, they'll find it difficult to carry it out. Even if they try, they will not go to some extent that they are gone before the regulation come up. I want a situation where in this country we can grow to a point where regulation will be ahead of the fraudsters. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause. I need to hear a woman speak. We've had 2 men. So any woman who would like to add to what has been said? Or should I go to my next question? So my next question, should innovation be licensed or trusted until proven otherwise? Oh, okay. 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Dixon, Head of E-Business, Prestige Microfinance Bank. To me, innovation should not be licensed because it's something that comes from the mind, and it comes from the subconscious, right? And when you look at a situation, maybe a challenge or a problem that you want to solve, and you have to think through it to be able to bring something to life to solve it, there can be a license to that. If we are to go by licensing innovation, we won't be where we are today, because a lot of the solutions that we have presently in the market, they were born out of some genius moments, right? So if it is licensed, then it can be curbed. And once it's curbed, it cannot grow. It cannot change the world. And whatever we see today as innovation that is thriving everywhere we are, it's as a result of the ability for it to be unleashed. So I don't think it should be licensed. Thank you.
Thank you. Who has a contrary opinion? Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Israel from Nisal Microfinance Bank. Mine will be a bit of in the middle. I would say licensed, but very flexible. Why do I say that? And I'll just give you a little story. We had a training where we had, we are breakouts to sessions, and there are some innovations that came around that training. Then interestingly, we had a facilitator, from outside. And the next few months, we saw that those tinkering, those innovations that came from that gathering was sold to a particular bank. And when we saw it in the mobile banking space, we said, this is what we discussed now. And then somehow we got to know that the facilitator has some form of link to the other bank. So based on that premise or on that experience, I would rather innovations are licensed in the sense that it is, even if it is a form of, it is domiciled to a particular person or group, we know that it's coming from you. So when there is a disruption or misuse, you can easily go to the originator and say, what was your intention? He says, this is my intention. So you can always curb the point of misuse at any point in time or growth whenever there is any growth. That's my take. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I have a counter perspective. I agree with my brother over there who spoke, who said innovation is not something that you should try to control. But let's not forget that we are working with people's livelihoods here. Money is very important to pretty much everybody in any society. What I will say is, let's take Interswitch now, for instance, or anybody who works in the microfinance sector. you have something called asset compliance, right? So without getting, or PCI DSS, these are basically like, it's like a walled garden of Eden of things that you should not do and things that you should do. Within that garden, innovate all you want. These guardrails are supposed to stop you from doing something that will harm the people who are leveraging on your innovation. And I think that's where the line should be drawn. Innovation is great so long as it does not harm. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll just take you as the...
Okay. Hello. I think good morning, everyone. My name is Paul from the Nigerian Air Force Microfinance Bank. All right. I think what I would say is, in as much as innovations, the licensing should go a bit better. I think the best option to go about it is that there should be a form of quality test that must be conducted on these innovations that are being brought into play. Maybe a sum of accreditation to make sure that whatsoever you are designing, whatsoever you are building is safe, one, is secured, and it can also last the test of time. There are so many innovations out there that by the time they bring it into the market and users get accustomed to it, before you know it, they crash overnight. Before you know it, there are cybersecurity issues and all of that. So I think the best part of it is that in as much as there should be room for innovations to grow, people to develop, there should be a form of accreditation that should be done, of which whatsoever you develop, it must pass through that accreditation to make sure that it meets a certain level of quality testing and assurance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll take you 30 seconds.
Thank you. My name is Omololu from Rex Africa. For me, when you license innovation, you are going to kill ideas. And what my brother is talking about is user acceptance. For me, let the people innovate. At the place of acceptance, we will know which is going to stand the test of time. And licensing can now come in that this is what should be and this is what should not. Thank you.
Okay, in trying to accept it, that's why we now bring in the risk management framework. So what kind of risk can we accept at this particular point? What can't we accept? Thank you.
Please, a round of applause. Please, a round of applause for everyone that's spoken. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So in all, we've learned a whole lot, even though we've had counterparties, but still we've learned that license or innovations should not be licensed, but then it needs to go through certain checks and balances, right? So thank you all for that insightful contribution. All right, so we'll just move quickly to the next item on the agenda. We'll be having a team introduction by the regional business head for North Interswitch in person of Ayo Tanimo.
Thank you, Tosin. Let's give ourselves a round of applause once again. When I joined Interswitch around 10 years ago, and I came from e-banking in different banks. And I knew at that time that if you wanted anything that has to do with Interswitch, you must go through your bank. It is your bank that will now take you to Interswitch. You don't come to Interswitch directly at that time. But that has changed. Why? Because there is a need for us to get close to these customers. I remember during my engagement then, I told them that you cannot sit in Lagos and build a product for somebody that is in Kauranamunda. I remember Kauranamunda very well. And so, by the time you build that product in Lagos and you are taking it to Kauranamunda, you will get to Kauranamunda and you find that the product is not just working. Have you built a product? Yes, you have. But have you solved the problem in Kauranamunda? No, you have not. Okay? So, that has changed and it has helped us to get close to the customers, and then we have started building products that solve specific problems for different people in different sectors. So let's give Interswitch a round of applause for taking to that heat. Before I bring the team on the stage, I'd like to recognize a few people, and I'll start with all the MDs of the different microfinance banks. Please, can you be on your feet? Because we recognize that you are here. You took time out of your busy schedule to come here. I'm aware of the FRS meeting that you have been invited for, but you decided to come and sit with us because this is a very, very important conversation. Please, all MDs of microfinance banks that are here today, please, can you stand up for recognition, please? And please, can we give them a round of applause? I saw the MD of ABU Microfinance Bank. He came all the way from Kaduna this morning. Thank you so much. The MD of Cobbleweb Microfinance Bank, he came all the way from Lafayette just this morning and is here with us. Why? Because this is a very important conversation that we need to have. I saw the MD of Microvis Microfinance Bank from Kaduna also, MD of Quantum Microfinance Bank, MD of Rex Africa, the MD of Nware Microfinance Bank. Don't mind me, I know them all because I've been around. So let's give them a round of applause once again. Thank you so much. Thank you. Some PSSPs are here, and we need to recognize them. Again, it took a lot of engagement before we were able to bring these people here. Please, if you are a PSSP, you are supposed to be in that meeting, but you decided to come and sit with us. Please, can you be on your feet, please? A PSSP or an intending PSSP that is going through the journey at licensing at CBN, please. Please. Okay, let me put it this way. Not PSSP. Fintechs that are doing things in the space of financial technology, perhaps in the north. Please, can you, I will name names. Mr. Tayo, please, can you be on your feet for recognition? Tayo, please, please. Mr. Deji, please join us. Yeah. Joel. Joel is here. Chris, Pepro, please. Please, let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you so much for Tribe Agric, please. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks a lot. So, when I joined Interswitch, we started expanding the business. We started with an office in Abuja. And after some time, we expanded to Kaduna. So we have an office in Kaduna. After Kaduna, we expanded to Kano State. So we have a full-fledged office in Kano also. We're expanding to Sokoto very soon. And we're also trying to get an office somewhere in the Northeast. Why? Because we need to start getting close to these customers as we evolve, as we innovate, and as we build solutions. I'd also like to recognize the presence of the technical advisor to the executive governor of Katsina State, Mr. Mohammed Khalid. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming. Our best regards to his executive governor. Thank you. I'd like to bring on the stage the team that has been working in the north. I've seen all of them in here this morning. First, I'd like to bring Michael Obiya on the stage. Michael Obiya, please come join me on the stage. Michael manages our business in the North Central. So if you're from Nasarawa State, Kogi State, Niger State, and Benue State, if your business is sitting in any of these states, this is your go-to person. Michael Obiyan is an old horse in Interswitch. This is Michael Obiyan. Please speak to Michael if you have any business that has to do with any of those things. Please, Michael can take a bow. Thank you. I would like to bring in Joel Kabrook, our MC for today. Joel Kabrook was imported from one of the Fugas. Joel Kabrook sits in our Kaduna office, and he manages our business in Kaduna, in Gombe, in Plateau, and in Bauchi states. If your business is sitting, or you have something that you want to create around those states, please talk to Joel. Thank you, Joel. Next is our manager in, our regional business manager in Kano. He sits in our Kano office, Abdusalam Obafemi. We also imported him from one of the Fugas. Please, double up, double up, double up. If you have any conversation that has to do with Interswitch around Kano State, Jigawa State, Yobe State, and Borno State, he's your go-to person. Obafemi Abdusalam. Thank you. And then I have Folashade Lawal. Interswitch is building a product for the federal government. I'm sure a lot of us are very familiar with collection in the federal government space. We saw that there was a need for us to liberalize that space and make it convenient for users to make payment, to do collections and all of that. So we are building something for the federal government, and it will help a whole lot of a lot of us that are in that ecosystem. Folashade manages our federal business account. And so if there is any ministry, department, or government agencies that is here today, Folashade is your contact person for federal, is our contact person for federal government business. Thank you, Folashade. Next is Unduka Okezie. Unduka Okezie started the journey with us as a business sales partner, like an ad hoc staff, kind of. But for us in Interswitch, we like to build capacity into people. And we've been able to build Unduka Okezie to the level that he is. He is managing our business in Katsina State, and I'm sure that's why he was able to bring the TA to the executive governor. Unduka, thank you so much for what you're doing. Mohammed Al-Nasir. Mohammed Al-Nasir used to work in our health business space. In Interswitch, we like to solve problems for sectors. So for us in Interswitch, we started building solutions for the health space. Solution that will help you to digitalize the operations within an hospital or within what a typical HMO is doing and all of that. So he joined us as a business sales partner, and today Mohammed manages our business in Jigawa State. Thank you, Mohammed. And so that is the composition of the team. We'll continue to grow. We'll continue to expand. I sit in Abuja, and I try to work with this team so that we can bring more innovation into the northern space. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ayo. You forgot to mention that if you have something like Jackpot to Canada, to UK, please call me. You forgot to introduce me, so let me introduce myself. All right, so we'll be moving next to the panel session and the Q&A. We're going to be discussing policy, innovation, and partnerships, aligning for scalable growth. And to moderate this session, we have the Business Development Manager from Interswitch for the MFS business, Obiora Ezika. Please, a round of applause for him, Obiora. And on this panel, we have some very big people, important people. There are people that have been shaping the payment business in Interswitch, as well as in other companies, so I'll be introducing them. First on our list is the Vice President, Government Relations and Regulatory Affairs for Interswitch, with the person of Tunji Ashiro. A round of applause for him. We'll be having the co-founder of Convexity. I hope I got that right. CNGN, Adedeji Owonibi. Thank you, sir. We'll be having the MD CEO Paysure Technologies, Tayo Odukoya. A round of applause for them. We'll be having the Vice President of Techpreneur and Thrive Agric, Sulabelo. And finally, the only woman blessed amongst many men. We have the head retail payments in Interswitch and the person of Tina Olaore. A round of applause for her. All right, so I'll be handing over to Obiora Izika to moderate the session. Thank you.
All right. I think it's a good time to say good afternoon. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome us to the panel session for today. It promises to be very exciting. The theme of the session is policy, innovation, and partnerships aligning for scalable growth. I mean, a lot has been said this morning during the keynote, the fireside chat, so we're here to dwell more on that. Today we'll be exploring how policy, innovation, and partnership can align for scalable growth across Africa's digital business. Just last year, the African fintech sector attracted over $3 billion in investments, and Nigeria accounted for nearly 30% of this. But the thing is this, investments are just one piece of the puzzle. The question that we're here to explore today is, how do we transform this momentum into lasting and scalable impact? And joined here today with me a lineup of incredible leaders who have been doing just that, ranging from regulation to fintech, to digital banking, and to agri-tech. We've tried to aggregate different perspectives to come and discuss this topic in details, to share insights with us. So the panel members have already been introduced. I'll now take my seat and we'll dive right in. I'll be starting with Tunji, who will be taking the first question on the panel. Tunji has worked at the intersection of policy and innovation over many years. If we had listened to Dr. Bassi, he spoke a lot about how policy has driven innovation. We also know that there are two sides to this coin. There are times when policy has driven innovation. There are also times when policy has stifled innovation. So it takes me to my first question, which is, how can collaboration between regulators, fintech, and partnerships create an enabling environment for scalable growth?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for spending your very busy morning with us. So let me quickly just delve and try and address the question that was just asked. For us as Interswitch, we have an ethos, right, which is policy and regulation are almost one or the other, right? And the first thing we do is absolute compliance, because for us, we look at policy and regulation as guardrails. I think in the earlier session, the panelists spoke across some of those things, because I can't imagine living in an environment whereby we innovate and there's no guardrails. It will basically decimate so much value from this ecosystem. And while I was thinking of my remarks to some of the questions I was going to be asked, I now took some time back and looked at some of the gaps. In the absence of policy or regulation, what will happen? And I remember what happened in the US in 2008 in the subprime markets. There was a regulatory body. They knew what to do. but they were under-regulating. And essentially that through the whole Western / global, we had a global meltdown as a result of those type of things. Because they saw what was going on. They were leading people. There was a lot of people giving whistleblowers saying that this is not consistent, this is not sustainable. People were buying homes, bringing out significant equity. That did not just make sense. And so those are some of the things that, as much as we are tech companies, we like to basically innovate, we like to basically go to market, but we also have to be guided by policies and regulation. So one of the things we do is we don't look at regulators as an adversary, we look at them as a partner. So it's more about collaboration. So some of the things we do is like, and there's different platforms that they use today, which are like Sandbox, whereby you can actually, things that you've considered or conceptualized, you can take it to those environments. And then, like someone said earlier, before you take it to a live environment, you can now go through that licensing process. So those are some of the things that has worked. There was also a particular instance whereby when you're trying to also, when you've deploy the product, and then the regulator comes back and says, this is not meeting the market's need, and they basically shut down that product. One of the things I saw happen in Kenya recently was whereby they accused some of the likes of the Safaricom of predatory lending, whereby they were lending money at such a high rate. What did the regulator do? They actually shut down that product, and they basically called all those guys that were party to that transaction that we're not trying to kill you guys, but at the same time we have to do something that makes sense. So the same people that they actually restricted were the same people that came up with the policy for what and how they should lend into that market. So those are scenarios whereby you don't want to go too far ahead of regulator, but you work with them, because at the end of the day, the regulator also wants the market to grow. They also have, just the same way we have a budget. I think regulator's budget might be different type of metrics. Obviously, it might not be a budget, might be scalability, might be inclusion and things of that nature. So those are some of the instances whereby I think works for us and the nation at large. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tunji, for that, for sharing, how Interswitch perceives the regulators and how we interface with regulators. For us, it's all about, aligning with regulation and ensuring that the products that we release to the market are compliant. And situations where they're not, we take feedback and make modifications to ensure that we're aligned with the regulators' expectations. So I'll move down to emerging technologies. Deji, my next question is for you. Now, blockchain, artificial intelligence are no longer buzzwords, okay? In Nigeria today, we know that there are switches that are powered by blockchain technology. So we see this as solutions that improve efficiency within the system and in payments as well. So it takes me to the question, how can emerging technologies like blockchain and AI that I've mentioned help redefine transparency and scalability across sectors, particularly in areas where trust has been a challenge traditionally?
Thank you very much. So, if you look at the emerging technologies like you mentioned, and for me, blockchain is my forte. I'm not too deep in AI, but again, all of us are in that sector that we can't avoid it, but to just join, For blockchain, the underlying feature is actually about trust. If I have a book in my office entitled Blockchain, the Trust Machine, and so if you're having any doubt on anything, you apply that blockchain technology to bring that transparency in. And I give you a case in point at our company, Convexity. So, of course, we started it up with the idea that people can co-create solutions around blockchain and all those issues. But one particular newspaper from the United Kingdom actually spurred innovation for us to answer to that transparency gap that you mentioned. The newspaper said, and it's UK Daily Mail, I think it's still online, and they said Nigeria is a country so corrupt that it would be better you burn your aid money than send it to Nigeria. And so for us, knowing that we have a technology called the Truth Machine, and if you say you are in an innovative company, can we change this story from our own innovation lab, right here. So we started building, and we built out a solution called CHATS, just an acronym for Convexity Humanitarian Aid Transfer Solution. And when we did that across the first year, the second year, UNICEF Innovation Office in New York came knocking to say this makes sense. I think we are having a lot of leakages, a lot of trust gaps, and we think this will plug that. And so, of course, they supported the project, and we built some features based on their own experience also within the humanitarian sector. As I speak to you now, that solution is being used. Currently, we're running a project with the Canadian government, the Netherlands government. So we've changed the story somehow to say you don't have to burn your money. Put it on a trust rail, which is the blockchain, and you can actually see. So what we had is a model where the donors can actually track their money, and it gets to the vulnerable households or communities, and you know that, oh, you actually got that money or you never did. And so those emerging technologies, I think, things we can use to bridge those gaps. And one area, and I'm coming to artificial intelligence, no matter how you want to run away from it, is part of us. One key area we think the frauds and trust issues are broken is from the beneficiary point, where you just bring in people that are not supposed to be beneficiaries, into a project. So we use artificial intelligence to actually, and what we call a ZK knowledge, zero knowledge proof for, identifying those people. So it has to be them or nobody else, and without exposing any data privacy and all that, using the blockchain. So these innovative technologies, I think when we key in, they have the potential to solve some of these issues that you did mention.
All right. Thank you, Deji, for that, and for also, distilling this knowledge in such a way that it's easy to understand. I hear you talk about ZK knowledge. I mean, if you're not that in-depth into blockchain and AI, all these emerging technologies, you may struggle to understand, what this is about. Now, particularly exciting is how your company, Convexity, has been able to modify these technologies or align it for local use cases. I hear how, you've explained your company betting products that improve the trust in the system as far as payments is concerned. Now, the emerging technologies connect to payment innovation. I've heard, the instances that you've given, and it takes me to my next question for Tayo. Now, what role does payment innovation play in driving business efficiency and inclusion across Africa's digital economy?
Thank you very much for the question. About payment innovation across Africa, I will make mention to what we're doing in Pesho. Pesho happens to be one of the innovators of the wallet system in Nigeria. One of the speakers earlier on was talking about how the payment ecosystem used to be several years ago, where people had ATM cards, where POS was. The executive director of NASA also mentioned it, where the ecosystem was so fragmented until a few years ago, the regulators came up with policies that centralized transactions and also encouraged innovations in that space. One of the things that have encouraged innovation most that we have done in Pesho is introduction of wallets on POSs. Before, there could not be any instant settlement on POSs. We started out, before it was popularized by some other people in the market, about 4 years ago. We started introducing instant settlement on POSs. Before it was T+1, POS transactions were T+1. We brought that into the market and popularized it, and also give it to a lot of other partners through collaboration. So there are a lot of things that we have done. Recently, if you look at what the keynote address, the ED of National Association of Microfinance Bank mentioned as well. He mentioned that there's still so much cash in that space, and there's still so much microfinance banks that are still running their activity manually, just because they're afraid of technology, or maybe because technology is too expensive for them. At Patio, we have also introduced a solution for them as innovation that is very light, a very light home banking application for microfinance banks. We have just introduced it. We are going to be talking about it very much, even next week at their activity. They have a conference in Uyo next week. We are going to be talking about it as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Taya, for that. I'll now move to digital banking. Tina, this question is for you. So over the years, customer expectations have changed. I mean, in time past, being able to check your balance online was like a big deal. Today, customers expect that they are able to transact on the go. They expect that they are able to get loans. They expect that they're able to repay their loans using their mobile. And what has made this possible is digital banking. So from a digital banking standpoint, how can innovation and customer insights drive long-term growth and competitiveness?
Thanks, Obiora. And so I thought you used to be ladies first, but I'll forgive you for coming to me as number 4. Okay, I forgive you. Back to your question. Looking at it from the standpoint of digital banking and innovation, this is how I like to look at it. Innovation really is not just about bringing out something for the customer, but really it is about building around the customer. Okay? A lot of people, you said people want to do things at their own convenience, right? Technology has evolved so much that we need to be on our toes to innovate. Dr. Charles said something. You don't just innovate because you want to roll out something and then you push it out in front of people, force people to use it. There has to be a need. Now, from a digital banking standpoint, it is important that we understand the needs of the consumers. How do we do this? It has to be really deep insights as to what customer needs. If you understand the needs of the customers using data-driven insights, then we can build, then we can innovate to meet these needs. As we build and meet needs, what happens? We begin to build customer trust and loyalty, which over time will begin to drive that competitiveness that we want to see in the industry. And I'll not bring it home to what Interswitch has done in this regards. Interswitch has been at the forefront for enabling innovation. We have enabled banks, we have enabled fintechs to innovate, to collaborate, right? We cannot innovate without collaboration, without partnerships. Today we see that the banks and fintechs are beginning to collaborate. The banks are there to provide that structure. The banks are there to provide that balance. While they are more regulatory confined, right? There's now that balance between banks, fintechs, OFIs coming together and then innovating for the customer, right? For the customer. It's important that we do not rule out what customers want, what customers need. And because the needs are evolving, I mean, my 19-year-old self in the university is different from what a 19-year-old girl in the university today would need. So if we are not innovating to meet the changing needs, then we are doing something wrong. Innovation has to meet needs. Innovation has to ensure that people are getting what they need to drive what they want to produce. Right? When you use data-driven insights to build products that meet needs of people, then your business can grow. Now I'm bringing this back to scalability and growth for your business. You cannot roll out products that are not needed. You cannot roll out products that are not going to meet customers' needs. It has to be seamless. Customers want to use something that would give them that seamless experience, right? And at the end of the day, it translates to your business growth and scalability. So that's how I like to look at it, Obiora, from a digital banking standpoint.
All right, thank you for that, Tina. my understanding is that innovation should be targeted towards needs. And we should take feedback from customers before innovating. That way we're building a product that meets the needs of the customers. Now, bringing it close to, or bringing it home to agric. In Nigeria today, agriculture employs over 70% of the population. However, agriculture contributes to less than 25% of the GDP of Nigeria. Now, this gap creates two things. One, an immense opportunity, and on the other hand, a worry for policymakers. Thrive Agric has been, at the forefront of using technology to empower farmers to access finance, information, and markets. So it takes me to the question: how can technology and partnerships transform traditionally underserved sectors like agriculture into scalable and profitable ecosystems? So that this question is for you.
Thanks. I think I'll just pick it from where Tina started around innovating right around the customer. So at Tribe Agric, yes, the primary customers are farmers. These are typically what we call smallholder farmers. They make the bulk of the farmer population you just mentioned. And smallholder farmers have unique characteristics, right? And as you can see, I'm dressed as I'm a digital farmer, by the way. So we don't wear suit and tie. They are productive and they make money. And yes, and they care about being efficient. And I'll maybe take us through a bit of history. About 7 years ago, at Tribe Agric, we have 3 mandates, right? We work with farmers to give them access to inputs, access to data-driven advisory, and access to markets. The goal around this is to ensure profitability and empowerment for smallholder farmers. But scaling this had challenges, and that was why we had to bring in technology, right? In the very early years of our operations, we used to aggregate farmers in Abuja, Fashi, and when it is harvest time on payday, what we have to do is, expect farmers to bring in their harvest, and we are transporting, hundreds of millions of naira in cash, because that is what they want. They want their money right away. Yeah. But this is not scalable. It simply meant we'd spend an entire day servicing maybe just about 1,000 farmers. And that's a lot of money moving here and then. It was something that worked here, but it didn't allow us grow scale. Today, Tribe Agric works with over 1 million smallholder farmers. And for us to have attained that scale, we had to digitize, we had to leverage technology. So we had what we call the agricultural operating system, which essentially aggregates data information across farmers, right from onboarding, where I call the input stage, towards actual planting, where we provide agronomic practices, economic advisory, and can provide data-driven advice, data-driven insights, and lastly, taking them to market. So this platform captures all that information, and this is also what we've also, extended into things like procurement, logistics, inputs delivery, warehouses in different parts of the country, warehouses in different parts of the state, where you can then say, oh, the cost of farmers can go to a particular point, right? But where I'm driving at is that at different points in time, we saw the need to, break the norm, even with farmers, and then being averse to, traditional practices that they are already used to. And an example I'd like to maybe bring to fore was when we were going to introduce, digital payments to these farmers. And I remember back then, yes, engaging Interswitch. This was a beautiful Eureka moment where we teamed up with Interswitch around, okay, this is how farmers operate. Can't we look at getting them debit cards, right? But if you want to do that, where do the farmers get, where's the cash point? So we also need to make it available. That was the infrastructure we had to, essentially make accessible to such farmers. Beyond that, farmers don't just trust your word. Okay, you have given me a card. You say there's money there. How do I even know there's money there? Right? You have to find ways around. Okay, notifications. These farmers, well, maybe not entirely, do not use smartphones. Do not perhaps use feature phones, but a considerable number of them use feature phones. So you're able to, on payday, give a notification around. Oh, this is how much has been transferred into you. All you need to do is go to an agent that's just maybe about 100 meters away. And this agent is probably a relative or the son of your fellow farmer, because that trust exists. So then, he goes there, presents it, okay, I want to take this amount, and then that money comes out. Then the farmer is like, oh, this actually works, right? So, and we've seen that grow from what it was back then to formalizing that system in different forms, in different ways. Right, so taking us back, it is that technology is very, very essential. And not just to the farmer, right, even to the investor, right. So, looking at it from two parcels, we speak about providing inputs to farmers. The input comes from somewhere, right, it's an investment, right. And we leverage partners, we leverage collaborators to get this done. In the very early days too, we used to do what we call crowdfunding model, where we probably ask Dr. Bassi, bring me your 1 million naira, Dr. Orok, your 500K. After 9 months, we'll give you a marginal return, right? But then, there were issues with that because, there wasn't exactly a risk framework where Dr. Bassi is asking for, okay, this is my risk appetite. Everybody was being subjected to the same. But we've had to grow around building transparency, building like dashboards that show real tracking, and that way we could work with the likes of the Central Bank in Nigeria, we could work with the food guys, we could work with commercial banks, we could work with partners like the microfinance bank, and that way we could further extend services, right, tailored to the smallholder farmers. So this is essentially what takes us through providing access, real-time access to inputs, real-time access to data-driven advisory, real-time access to markets. And lastly, I'd also like to mention that on the bit of scalability, because I mentioned the backbone of all of what we do is we want to make farmers profitable. The very biggest impediment to smallholder farmers is wastage, food wastage. You find farmers work, toil, and then at the end of the day, if output doesn't get sold in good time, it starts to waste away, and then that's what contributes perhaps the biggest loss. We call it post-harvest losses. So what we've done is, have an understanding around, with the data aggregated, have an understanding around what mass of produce comes from these areas, what will be the storage requirements in this area, so that way we're able to put them in appropriate storage facilities in time, so that way we see losses from happening. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Sula, for sharing your experience with applying technology at scale in the real sector, particularly agriculture. Okay. My follow-on question for you is this: do you think there are any lessons that fintech can learn from the agri-tech sector, given the experience you've gathered with dealing with a large population that is experiencing significant challenges, not just in payments but beyond payments, the total agri ecosystem? Is there any lessons for the fintech players there?
Oh yes, definitely. A lot of questions, a lot of recommendations actually. No slides asked by colleagues on the panel. I think I'll start with there's what we call addressable markets, right? And that's every fintech's dream. When they talk about addressable markets, they talk about the millions of people available. When you look at Africa, it's a market of 1.5 billion people. In the next 25 years, we're going to be 2.5 billion people. There's so much potential, right? But then, what are we building, right? We are building elitist systems, right? We are perhaps innovating for convenience. We are taking focus, or rather, almost entirely away from the base of the pyramid, where we have the most numbers, right? I believe we need to, look at innovating very keenly for inclusion as well, right? Because there's a lot to capture there, right? There's only much we can do, but of course we work with great partners. Getting the like of a smallholder farmer to become inclusive, it perhaps starts from giving that person a digital identity, right? Those will be channels that would expect fintech players also take a keen look at, right? You have farmer cases where a farmer who has perhaps found all the past generation, it doesn't have fingerprints anymore, right? And your tool says, oh, put your finger here to make it. You already signed off this person. You can't use your tool. There needs to be considerations around what works for this sort of person, what works for this type of person. Dr. Bass also made a very good point earlier around collaterals, which was something, regulation, the policy that was made pretty recently, I think in the past administration, which is something fintech providers could also put to use around seeing beyond cash or beyond the traditional assets that are being used for collaterals. You have farmers that have tons of rice, tons of maize, and these are things that are worth a lot of value. These are things that such farmers can use to unlock financing. So they can leverage the kind of data we process because we do counts to engage these farmers. Or farmer A at this point of time, perhaps over the past year produced 10 tons, the previous year 8 tons, the previous year 6 tons. So you can see the growth, you can see trajectory. It's perhaps not been formalized, it's perhaps not been in cash transactions, but there's a lot of value that you can take out from them. Another point I'll probably just mention as well is innovating around intricate use cases. Travel, for instance, our repayment models with farmers are built around farming seasons, right? When a farmer goes to, I think we are expecting the rains to stop soon, so it means it's almost harvest time, and this is where farmers get rich, right? So one of the things we have to do is we quickly have to, we take note of those times, and we know this is a good time to have the farmer repay whatever loan is due. Because if you don't, then the farmer can go and marry a second wife and a third wife, right? So you want to quickly. So these are the same things we can need when fintech partners loan the customers, right? You perhaps take note when does this customer make money? Is he civil servant? Does he collect salary at the end of the month? Right? Would that be the best time to look at instead of them resorting to blackmail? This kind of stories we hear out there. So yes, I believe innovating for inclusivity, right, is what will take us where we need to be, and that is how we can make the most of, the opportunities around the growth expected in population both across Africa and Nigeria as a whole. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sula. You've shared insights beyond how the lessons that fintechs can take from agritech. You pointed a lot on how both fintechs and agritech stakeholders can collaborate effectively to deliver value to users and farmers as well. Going back to digital banking and customer experience, Tina, how can collaboration across financial institutions improve digital inclusion in Nigeria and beyond? What role does infrastructure play in making sure we're not just serving, people in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, but truly reaching customers at every corner of Nigeria and beyond?
Thanks, Obiora. But before I answer, I just want to draw out on what Tayo, right? Sula just talked about, and something that really sparked my interest. Inclusivity, right, is not just. I know most of the time we want to look at it from the standpoint of reaching the unbanked, right? But there are also those that, even though they are in areas that gives them opportunities to be banked, they are still unbanked because of some form of disabilities, right? You spoke about taking your thumb prints. Meanwhile, there are people that do not have thumbs to print. So it just boils down to the fact that there's still a lot to be done when it comes to innovation. And that takes me back to the earlier point around what really are the needs, right, that we need to meet using innovation and collaboration. Back to your question, Obiora. Financial inclusion today, again, there's been a mandate from the central bank years back on how everybody needs to be financially included. And then, so we see the banks, we see financial institutions rolling out products, technology to ensure that everyone has access to financial services. And at Interswitch, what we have done a couple of years back, and we are beginning to see the results today, is bring about a strategy around ensuring that every financial institution is able to access technology that would help them to include everybody. Now, let me explain this, right? So the commercial banks, we have commercial banks today. They have huge capex appetites, and they are able to access technology. They are able to purchase technology, right? Because you would agree with me in this room that technology is expensive. It is not cheap, right? So not everybody can wake up one morning and say, I want to get this infrastructure to drive my technology. It comes at a cost. So what we did differently was to bring about solutions and products where financial institutions, irrespective of your capital appetite, you are able to access infrastructure or technology at a very low cost. And that's what birthed our shared services. So today, while the commercial banks can maybe access an FEP, invest in an FEP, invest in a core banking solution that are on-prem, standalone on-prem solutions, what happens to a microfinance bank that has just put together some money even to just get their license? Remember, they are the ones that are closer to the unbanked today. So if we say we want to do financial inclusion, we need to enable those that are closest to those that are excluded financially. We have the microfinance banks, we have the fintechs, the OFIs. They are the ones in these regions. I don't know how many commercial banks have branches in villages. I don't think they do. But at least very close to every village, there's one microfinance bank that is providing financial services for them. How would this microfinance bank access the technology or infrastructure that they need to ensure that these people are included? Right now, they are able to access infrastructure at a lower cost by coming on board what we have called shared services, right? Where you can share a postilion, you can share a core banking, you can share a fraud solution at a lower cost, and you are still able to provide the same kinds of services that a commercial bank will provide to those big people in the city. You are still able to provide those services to those in the villages, to those in the rural areas, to those that are, in quotes, financially excluded. Right? So we cannot overemphasize the need to ensure that everybody has access at any point in time to financial services. And this is what Interswitch has done. Let us ensure by providing, enabling the smaller banks, enabling those that are closer to the unbanked with infrastructure, let it be accessible to them at an affordable cost. So that's why we have today, when you hear Interswitch talk about payment as a service, fraud as a service, banking as a service, these are all our shared solutions that MFBs, fintechs can leverage on at a lower cost. You are able to provide the same kinds of financial services as any commercial bank anywhere in Africa, and then you're also able to ensure that all those that are unbanked have access to financial services. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Let me just double down on that. What Tina is trying to say is that as a microfinance bank in Nigeria, you can aspire to provide services at the level of a FUGAS, at the level of a full-fledged commercial bank, and that with Interswitch, we've curated solutions that enable microfinance banks to offer this at scale. She talked about digital banking as a service. She talked about payment as a service and mobile as a service. All of this put together enables a microfinance bank offer services similar or at par with a commercial bank without having to break the bank, without having to invest so much in infrastructure.
And most importantly, you are reaching the unbanked.
Exactly. You're democratizing access to financial services. Now, coming to payment innovation, Tayo. My question to you is this. What's actually required to achieve the kind of scalable growth in Africa using payment innovation, or looking at it from a payment innovation perspective? What is required?
Thank you very much. There are many things that are required. The number one thing that is required is collaboration within the ecosystem, building and designing customer-centric products, investment in data-driven innovation, policy alignment, infrastructure investment, and also building trust at every level. So I'll break down each of them. Collaboration within the sector. What we're doing in Patio is that we have collaborated with almost everybody in the industry. Interswitch, the banks, other fintechs as well. Recently, we're talking to people that are into blockchain as well. We're also exploring blockchain solutions into transactions, transfer, POS transactions, treating chargebacks, which is a major problem of the industry. All this could not have been achieved without collaboration, and we keep on integrating and collaboration with everybody in the industry. So it's very, very important. That's the number one point. The second one is customer-centric product. Like our Agric Fintech Tribe said here, if you don't build customer-centric products, that means you're not building your product for anybody. Your product is just elitist. So we have tried as much as possible to be customer-centric in building products. For example, we used to have solutions that could not work in a lot of places in Nigeria. What we have done is to try to scale down on the data that is consumed by the products online so that they can work even when they don't have 5G or 4G technology. That's what we're doing right now, and we're investing in it seriously. That's also from collaboration with the telcos as well. So the third one is investment in data-driven innovation. We're talking about hyper-personalization of solutions, where solutions are personalized to the granular level. Like, once again, I'll refer to what you said about farmers. You can't build solutions for somebody that his fingerprint has erased and tell him that he must use biometric verification to access that solution. No, you have to, do something else. Maybe you go into voice, activated solutions, or face recognition. So those are hyper-personalized solutions. The last one is policy alignment and infrastructure. Just like she said about digital banking, for policy alignment and infrastructure, for the banking space, the microfinance banks, there are solutions, digital banking as a service that Interswitch has introduced. These are solutions that you don't need to build infrastructure around. You can just, with very little money, key into the Interswitch product and on board to the digital banking service being provided by Interswitch. The last one is building trust at every level. If there is no trust within the ecosystem, then collaboration cannot take place. If there is no trust within the ecosystem, trust is what builds and expands the ecosystem. One of the things that is building trust in the ecosystem is events like this organized by Interswitch. You know, bringing everybody together. A lot of us have seen each other online, but we have never met physically. So interacting like this on a more physical level, discussing about topics like this, will build more trust in the ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tayo, for those insights that you've just shared. I'll take us back to policy as we move towards the last segment of this panel session. Deji, my next question is for you. We recall that sometime in 2001, CBN banned digital currency transactions. Okay. Fast forward to, I think, December of 2023, the same CBN did what? Reversed that ban. Okay, so that's some policy somersault, as it were. But this takes me to the question, what policy and partnership frameworks do we need to mainstream these emerging technologies? That is the blockchain, the artificial intelligence, and technologies of that type. What do we need to do?
Thank you very much. You reminded me that roller coaster. So that is the problem with, and I think that was part of the debate we had here, whether you should regulate an emerging technology or just stay by one corner and look at how that emerging technology evolves, and so you can come in. I did mention it to the central bank in 2023 because to say there was an error in that SWIFT ban without the capacity to actually know exactly what is happening after we ban it. And of course, we are pioneering what we call the regulated Naira stablecoin, the CNGN, which is now out, and we're testing how people accepted it. And for me, I was shocked to see that transaction have skyrocketed to about 29 billion at the last check on our website, because of course it's blockchain, so it's transparent. So we're seeing how people want to do that, and we reckon, why not allow it and you see it, and then you can now keep it with the risks that we'll find. And I think that's why I ally with people that were saying that should be. Incidentally, I chair the committee at the Fintech Association of Nigeria on Policy and Regulation, and we've been engaging regulators around just regulators, innovators, forum we call the regulator at the Fintech Association of Nigeria. And that has been the forum where we want to pull in policymakers to actually know what works. Prior to this time, especially for blockchain, cryptocurrency, myself and our team, we've been pushing these things around to make sure that regulators understand it. We started the idea of a regulated Naira stablecoin because we think we should have a Naira stablecoin on the blockchain and not USDT, USDC that have dollarized Nigeria, for example. And we cannot compete at that level if your own Naira is not on that rail. It's automatically on the traditional rail. This is fantastic, but payment is changing, blockchain is powering cross-border, a lot of things, and you don't have your Naira in that cycle. So that calculation cannot work. And we saw that in 2021 when we started the project. But the thing is that because like Interswitch, we build with regulation and policy in mind, we cannot go to the market or even tell people that is what we're building. And our first point of call was actually the central bank in 2021. And you can bet what we heard from central bank because nobody was ready for the kind of innovation that we're building. And we insisted, we can't build until you tell us how to go. So most times innovators push the policymakers to act. And in 2021, they were passing up from one department to another to risk management. The idea is just to buy time, but we insisted. We're every day at the central bank. Last week, I spent the whole of my week within the central bank payment policy so that we can frame what works for our country. And to be very frank with you, nothing came out of it, but that is how innovators have to take policymakers and regulators as their friends so they understand exactly what they're building. They sent us to you. I think we are now partners with Interswitch because something happened in 2023. And they say, okay, we think what you're building is great. In 2022, we don't think we can allow a Naira stablecoin because we do have our e-Naira. And so, is it not competing? I said, no, it's not. This is a different innovation. And this is how I will explain it. And I was talking to a director. And he said, look, we can't allow that. And we don't know how to actually position you. We like that you don't want to do something out of regulation, but we don't know what to actually tell you. But now, I think we have the answer. We have our e-Naira and this cannot fly. And I said, again, I know, because nothing really is new. Some of us in this room are very old enough to understand the .com era when the internet came. And most of us, I used to work in the bank those days. It is a taboo. In fact, it's punishable for you to connect work system to the internet. We do have our intranets. But where are we today? Fast forward today, everyone. You have to be just on the internet. So I told the director, what we're doing now is trying to create a silos of an intranet at the central bank. But the real payment is the public blockchain that all of us will eventually converge at. And even if we're not there, we can do something to handshake. So what we build them on 7 blockchains. And these are all public blockchains, from Ethereum to Polygon. We have Naira today on those blockchains. And so what we're going to do is, why not we have a partnership with you? We make your e-Naira the backing instrument, because the stablecoin have to have a backing Naira anyway, whether the normal Naira in the bank account, or you make it your e-Naira wallet that people have to send us e-Naira to actually enable us mint out the CNGN stablecoin on it as a backing instrument. So what happens in the public internet of money, I call it, which is where we all converge, as this grows, of course this will grow because that's the banking instrument. I think we did have a partnership with the central bank with that because it looks like a solution. But again, can we allow that? We're not ready. So there's still the dialing around that. So that's for us to understand that most times we can have innovation and the policymakers are not ready. And we cannot jump over them. And to even worsen our regulatory journey, the central bank leadership changed, right? So everything from 2021 became a story in 2023. But we still insisted we need to go see the new leadership to tell them, we think we do need a Naira on-chain. And this is our reasons. So we went there, we're fortunate we got an appointment with the governor, and we sat down with the deputy governor of financial stability and the directors. Well, prior to that time, they said, we think as a company you can't build that, you should get the banks to support you. And we think they are sending us to a wild goose chase. If you ask the banks not to touch crypto, you're sending a crypto company to go partner with the banks. So we know what the results will be, that we're not going to get that partnership. Somehow, we'll be shut down. But we pushed on, and we're fortunate, and we're very appreciative to Interswitch. We told our stories, and we think we need you because you are a big player in this ecosystem. We went to a few banks. We went to Access Bank. We went to First Bank. We went to Union and the likes of them. And of course, we got the story that we expected. You must be crazy for us to actually partner with you when we have this direction, not to touch this. But a story came to me that I told one of the bank CEO that actually opened the door. I told him, yes, sir, I think you're right. But if you have a proverbial father like our tribe agreed is here, and he said you must continue to farm with hoe, when you know there are tractors, there are harvesters, there are good seedlings, should you disobey your proverbial father? I think no. But you say, okay, Daddy, I've heard you. But immediately he leaves, I think you should learn how to farm with tractors. I think you should learn how these harvesters work. And eventually something is going to happen. He will see neighbors farming hectares, and he'll come to you to say, my son, why are we here? Why this guy is farming this? You say, oh, Daddy, I didn't want to disobey you. But actually nobody farms with hoe. And he said, well, let's join. So your learning curve is not starting that time because you're ready. And so the bank MD said, oh, this makes sense. So what do you want? I said, just partnership. So we got, with that story, having worked in one of the big banks, I took it to First Bank, I took it to most of the bank. And we got Sterling Bank, Access, First Bank, and Interswitch. So when we had that meeting, I called on them and said, I can't go to this meeting alone. Can we go together? I think Tanimowo was the one that represented. And we went to the central bank. And at the meeting, I explained to them why regulators have to be very circumspect, look at the people innovating. And be on the table with them and not this cat and dog kind of fight because we can't innovate anything. I said, look at, for example, telling the bank, hey, don't touch crypto. And that time is about 20 billion. And the transactions calculated to about 60 billion after your policy, so it didn't change anything. But what changed was actually everything went on the ground, and you don't have visibility anymore. And this year's one came out 2 weeks ago, and Nigeria in June last year to July this year, have done $92.1 billion transactions. So where are they? Who are those guys doing it? Where are those monies going to? What are they powering? And so those are things that if we have done this sit down together in 2021, we'll answer these questions now. So, but you can't blame regulators. Again, nobody want to move into where they don't have any expertise. But I think, like a lot of people mentioned here, travel for a where we just come and we're not scared, So it's not this master-slave relationship, it's co-partners, and then we discuss everything that we think is happening around the world. And because there's nothing new. So if you have a stablecoin framework, or maybe stablecoin that have been powered since 2014, and we'll not be able to join after maybe 15 years where we're still learning. And we can, if you blow the whistle now for us to join the race, we're not going to compete, because they have been on that race for 15, 20 years before you ask us to join. So my idea is, yes, policy is great. Yes, innovation is great, but it have to be that convergence. And innovators have to learn not to be those radicals. Because they tell me within the crypto ecosystem, oh, you are just a government guy. No, because nothing is going to work well until regulators understand it, and you have the mandate to educate the regulator, to share notes with them, to tell them this is what is happening in the world. And we keep doing that, and I think that is what fintech builders should actually do for us to have that convergence.
Thank you very much, Deji, for that elaborate insights that you shared. My takeaway from that is that we need regulators that understand innovation, okay? We equally need innovators that understand regulatory intent. Very important. Then lastly, we need partnerships that bridge the gap between ambition and execution. When an innovation is ahead of its time, then the fintech should actively court and engage the regulator, for the regulator to understand what the innovation is about. Because at the end of the day, that engagement is what will drive or what will form an input to whatever policy that the regulator is going to come up with at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Taking me to my last question, still on policy for Tunji here. What specific policy priorities should Nigeria focus on right now to strengthen our digital economy?
Okay, thanks. When it was talking, I was just like, collaboration. Sometimes you wake up to a new policy or regulation, or is it even a fiat? Like now they're saying in January, your banks, you need TIN or something like that. We have NIN, we have BVN. So at what point, now, how long will it even take for people to comply? So even the financially included people are becoming financially excluded, because how am I going to, what if I'm not in Nigeria? They assume that we're all living next to banks in Nigeria. Even there's quite a few Nigerians that operate accounts out of Nigeria. So that's already going to be a burden on them. I don't know of how many societies that they come up with different things that makes it harder to bank. They already have all your information. You have your passport. But now they're saying, technically, I'm sure they'll probably give us an extension that from January, you won't be able to operate your. So I honestly think that there has to be some sort of more collaboration amongst the different federal regulatory bodies you have. There's the NIMC, there's the what's it called, the TIN. So they need to put the leaders in a room, a think tank, and say, what do we need to agree on? First of all, you are creating more of a burden for financially included. So how are we even going to deal with the underbanked or the financially excluded if we're still having more of additional, requirements for us to even do transactions today? So for me, I think collaboration is key. I think for us as stakeholders in the industry, we just have to keep engaging and sensitizing the regulators. People always say government is a continuum, but I know from some of the experiences you've had, once there's a change in leadership, you almost have to go back to ground zero. And it's really, really, so for us, we're just always consistently engaging, trying to carry the, concept of why this needs to happen. And let me now slightly touch on the financially excluded or the underbanked. I got some insight. There was some insightful conversation I was had about farmers, right? You're saying that you want to enumerate them, but the technology to even capture their information might not even be able to address that issue. So I hope that as people are thinking of solutions around that area, not only are they going with a biometric, they're thinking of facial recognition, and I'm sure that comes with significant cost. And who's going to fund this thing? I know that there's a plan for this national card system, but I know some of the obstacles is who's going to even, the cost of the card for what this card is supposed to do. They can't use the typical payment card because the data on that one is quite limited. This one, they need so many different wallet apps. And when someone told me what that cost of that card would be, I think it came to about over 4,000 a card for over like 150 million people that NIMSI currently has. So the question now becomes, how do we deploy those things? I know for a fact that even this administration, there's a lot of things they're trying to do in terms of social intervention. They have money. They just don't know how to get to the last mile. Then when you don't have a way to deploy it, there's always a lot of money in the middle. People are going to be, the money will never get to them. And it's a source of concern for the current administration because I know as we're getting up towards the next election cycle and everything, there's a lot of things that they want to be able to say they've done. So that's also, so I think generally for me, it's more about collaboration. We just need to keep engaging. But at the end of the day, the only person that can get them to sit down, the different regulatory bodies, is also the leadership of the country, because we as stakeholders, we're always engaging them independently. So I'll go to CBN today, I'll go to NIMSI, I'll go to FIRS, I'll go to state FIRS. I mean, there's so many different regulatory bodies there. So I think really it's more of a collaboration whereby I hope someone just wakes up one day and says, we need to hack this thing and let this thing work. Do not try and make it more difficult for people to transact. Because I don't really, and I know the issue or concern is that they want to increase the revenue profile. They want people to pay more. They're trying to see what you're transacting in your banks. So I think that policy, I'm hoping that there was proper consultation, because I really know, I think it's been quite difficult for a lot of people to meet the timeline that's been set. So essentially, I think it's more of a collaborative stance for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tunji, for that. Collaboration is all that I hear, and is critical. As we begin to wrap up today's panel session, I'll quickly run through the panelists and take any final thoughts that they may have, starting with the lady this time, Tina.
Yes, Obiora, you've learned your lessons. Well done. Thank you. So in conclusion for me, right, I'll just say, let's innovate right, let's collaborate more, and let's be strong on partnerships. Right? If we can get these three right in the financial ecosystem, I believe we will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Tunji?
I guess for me, it's just, we would like to just see what, at the end of this session, to see some of the values that we hope the participants and us can extract in terms of opportunities. And it also be, I've gotten some insight. There might be some people that I might have identified I might also want to work with, so we can go and engage together. I believe that once there's collaboration, once maybe like Interswitch goes with some of the other fintechs or even MFBs, maybe they will take us a lot more seriously. Some of the things that I have also advocated for, especially, is when you go as an ecosystem, as a team, it's better. You can imagine if fintechs and banks and every other person just goes to CB and says, we need this thing to work. We don't even care if we're the beneficiaries. We believe that if it's open, the economy, the ecosystem will succeed. At that point, everyone wins. So rather than you going individually, I think if we can, I know there are a lot of associations by e-business, e-banking and all that, but I think if you take people even outside of that traditional industry
to go with you to say we need this thing to work, and then that will be, will probably definitely make a stronger case for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Tunji. Deji, over to you.
Yeah, I will just build on what Tunji said. It's collaboration, and of course he mentioned a lot of collaboration. So we are going to collaborate after this, and to see what happens. And I saw the power of collaboration straight up. And back to that story. This time I've been going as Convexity and few teams, and I went with 5 banks, with Interswitch, with Corepay, with few guys. And after our presentation, I said, we have 2 prayers, sir. And I told the deputy governor that we have 2 prayers. One of our prayers, as great as what we've told you are, these banks here cannot actually bankrupt based on your policy. And I was happy you talked about, that policy reversal. After higher education, and I said, allow them to bank crypto businesses, and you put the guardrail. And he said, I don't know what you came with today, based on this show up, and I think your prayer is rightly answered now. And we got that policy. So you right away look at the director of policy and regulation to say, let this circular we've been working on go out today. So we met 10 a.m. in the morning, and by evening, circular have gone to all banks to say we cannot be left behind. You have to operate and serve crypto businesses. So I see that power of collaboration, right? And also, what I would advise, like what Tribal Agri mentioned, is for you to actually put yourself while building in the consumer's shoe, in the customer's shoe. And we learned our own lesson the hard way. So like you mentioned, we built the Convexity Humanitarian Aid Transfer Solution to engender transparent aid distribution to the hard-to-reach vulnerable communities. And we had biometric as one of the onboarding for the beneficiaries. And we just knew, when we went to the field that cannot work, and we moved into facial. And finally, by learning, we moved into iris capture. But even iris capture now, we have a challenge now where the vulnerable will claim that the solution will be able to solve. We have blind people there. And so now we have iris to capture, to verify. So I think it's a lot for us to actually learn. And again, as a humanitarian sector, it's a very deep sector until we enter. And so just learn as you go and collaborate more. Thank you.
Thank you, Deji. Tayo, over to you.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much, Interswitch, for this kind of forum. Like I emphasized, collaboration it is. And I've also seen a few people on this table and in the crowd that we're going to collaborate with immediately after this occasion. Especially the... We're going to look at that seriously. Thank you very much, Deji. We're going to look at that seriously. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tayo, and thank you, Interswitch, for providing platform for this networking to be possible. Sula, please, final thoughts before we wrap up.
I think I'll just future-proof growth is never built alone. And I want to take a very quick context to the things we did in the very early days. It also got the attraction of global partners. After we built structure for farmers to utilize digital payments, we had the likes of Visa, MasterCard, inviting us to collaborate in markets beyond Africa, in the Middle East, Latin American lands. So collaboration is key. Big shout out to Interswitch for taking this up to 5.0. I've always been a great participant in previous editions, and great to see it's buzzing. There's a lot of energy within a lot of players we could. I see particularly that I could. We'll be looking to have robust conversations with and looking to do more things with. From Convexity, I like the idea of blockchain around farmlands, right? I hope we can get to a future where we can, essentially track land registry for every farmer's farmland, because those are issues we believe blockchain can well address. Working with the likes of partners like Cross Microfinance Bank, who are present in those countries where the farmers typically are, right? So collaboration is really key. Connecting, takes us where we begin. And I would, maybe point out one thing that typically happens with innovation. We say when you want to go fast, go alone, right? But if you want to go far, right, go co-with partners. And so the latter really speaks for itself. So let's keep connecting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sula, for those final thoughts. So for me, a central theme here is that scalable and sustainable growth cannot be achieved in isolation. So in summary, what we've heard today, starting from policy and regulation, how collaboration can lead to improvement in technology and how it's applied. We looked at emerging technologies, blockchain, AI, and how they can improve trust. We also looked at payment innovation, how it can improve efficiency in the system. We looked at agri-tech, how technology has been applied to the real sector and its significant impact. For me, in summary, whether you're building, whether you're innovating, whether you're regulating, one thing is clear, that collaboration is very critical in taking Africa's payment ecosystem to the next level. It's not about what you achieve as an individual entity or as an individual company. It's more about collaborating across sectors, across industries, and across countries, across borders. So on behalf of Interswitch and the organizers of TechConnect 5.0, I'd like to say a very big thank you to our brilliant panelists for sharing their insights, and also a big thank you to the audience, both here and online, for being a part of this conversation. Let us continue to collaborate and partner towards a more inclusive Nigeria and Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. A very warm round of applause for our panelists and our moderator. Photographer? Okay. Please, once you're done, you can proceed to the back as well to take pictures. Yes, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. We heard a lot about farmers. Thank you. So if you don't have a farm, this is your cue to get a farm and start farming. Thank you so much to every panelist that has spoken. Brilliant conversation. We are way behind time, so we'll just be running ahead. We'll be moving on to the demo presentation. But before we start the demo, please, there's a card on your table that has a QR code at the back. Please, can we just scan it? So we're going into the product demo presentation, and you're going to be seeing the different products, you know, a suite of products that Interswitch has. So please, let's just scan the QR code at the back of our cards. Please go ahead and do that. Oh, it's showing deactivated. The QR code is showing deactivated. Can someone assist? Okay, that will be worked on. Thank you, sir, for the feedback. All right, so once that is worked on, we'll announce again so that we can scan the QR code to see the different products that we have. So we'll be going straight into the product demo. And the first presentation would be on agency banking. So the video will be played, and then Nkechi would come up to just give a brief summary about the product. And once she's done, if you have any questions, you can just proceed to the demo area. She'll be there to take your questions. So please, media, kindly play the video.
A service. As a financial institution, scaling into super agency banking should be an exciting growth opportunity, but too often it feels out of reach. Why? Because it usually demands huge capital. Agency banking as a service. As a financial institution, scaling into super agency banking should be an exciting growth opportunity, but too often it feels out of reach. Why? Because it usually demands huge capital investments, complex systems like agents and terminal management platforms, server maintenance, top-tier security, and direct switch integration. For many operators, the barriers are simply just too high. That's why we created Interswitch Agency Banking as a service. We've built the full technical backbone ready to use from day one. From agent management to terminal management, security, and switch connectivity, it's all taken care of. It's a plug-and-play solution. No capital drain on building and maintaining infrastructure. No need for heavy tech expertise in-house. Simply onboard your agents and terminals and start operating at scale. The ultimate benefit? We democratize agency banking. What used to be a capital-intensive, tech-heavy venture is now an operational business opportunity. With Interswitch Agency Banking as a service, super agents can focus on growth, financial inclusion, and customer service, while we power the engine behind the scenes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. A very quick one on our latest product innovation. Everyone knows Interswitch today more as a processor. Interestingly, we are the pioneer of the agency banking cash-out solution that a lot of you use today. So if you're an MFB or a licensed super agent, of course you must carry out cash-out services. Interswitch is the pioneer of this service. But what we've done is, beyond providing cash-out services, we've looked at it that how do we help your business scale? So we've said, what are all the components that you need to come together to take agency banking to market? And that's what we've done. So we have agency banking as a service. You need a TMS, you need processing, you need terminals, and you need your agent management system. And we're saying we have all this put together. So you want to go to market fast, we're very happy to help you with it. So I'm at the back with my colleagues. We're very happy to take questions and help you on board on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so the next product we'll be watching the video is Card Fusion. Card Fusion. Media, please.
A customer walks into a bank hoping to get a new card. Come back in a few days, they are told. Days turns into week. The customer is stuck in limbo while the bank juggles vendors, processes, and delays. What if card issuance could be instant, completely in your control? Introducing Interswitch Card Fusion platform, the all-in-one web-based solution that lets banks issue, personalize, and activate cards in minutes. No bottlenecks, no inefficiencies, just smooth, secure, instant, right from the branch. With one centralized platform, banks gain complete oversight of the entire card issuance process, reducing waste, cutting costs, and boosting customer satisfaction. More efficiency, more revenue, more transactions. Because when banking moves faster, businesses grow stronger.
Not every fintech can issue cards. Until now, your customers need more than just wallets. They need cards that work everywhere, online, at ATMs, and in stores. But building the infrastructure can be difficult. Now, with our fintech card issuance solution, you can issue and manage cards without heavy investment, while we handle the back end. With our platform, you get full control. You're able to link accounts, manage PINs, block and unblock cards, all through seamless API integration. And when it comes to settlements, we make it simple. Transactions are reconciled daily, ensuring funds move exactly where they should. With full transparency, disputes, no stress. Our self-service dispute platform, Abita, keeps things in check so you can focus on growth while we handle the details. It is the future of card issuance, built for fintechs like yours.
Banks driven functionality, which is a little bit pricey for them due to the infrastructure involved, such as deployment of FEP at the bank's environment. So, which is also far beyond the fintechs and other financial institution capacity. So at Interswitch, we have built a solution that covers or that caters for fintechs and other financial institutions to issue cards with the help of the sponsored bank BINs and also their issuing license so that they can issue cards for their customers. So for Card Fusion, this is an instant card issuance solution for the banks. This has the journey of a working customer requesting for a card at the bank's environment, and the banks validate the customer's information. And after that, the Card Fusion API triggers the Hembo file, and that file will generate an output file, which is going to be printed on an EMV printer for the customers. So we've been running these for most of the banks in Nigeria today, and we're happy to welcome more banks on board. For any further related questions on Card Fusion and FCI, I'll be at the backstage for further conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the next product we'll be doing a demo on is the Interswitch Lending Service. And this will be taken by Dennis Adelowo, but the video will be played, and right after that, he would take the presentation.
Interswitch Lending Service, ILS salary loans for institutions. Imagine this, it's mid-month. Ada, a hard-working salary earner, faces an unexpected expenses. Instead of panicking or turning to loan sharks, she simply logs into a quick teller platform, requests for a loan, and funds are credited straight into her salary account. That is the power of ILS salary loans. We make it easy for companies to give their employees access to safe, structured, and affordable credits, so no staff is trapped in debt circles that could embarrass them or the company. Here's how it works. Companies partner with Interswitch through their HR or payroll provider. Employees are whitelisted on our lending platform. Employees request for loan, review offers from salary loan providers, and accept terms that suit them. Funds are disbursed directly into their bank accounts. Repayment are seamlessly handled either through automatic deductions from employees' bank accounts or via direct refund by staff through pay with transfer. The results? Employees have quick loan access to handle emergencies, invest in their dreams, or simply breathe easier before payday. Companies, in turn, demonstrate that they are committed to their people's success by providing real financial empowerment. Interswitch Lending Service is a platform for your staff to ease their financial stress, backed by you and powered by Interswitch. My name is Dennis Adelowo. I'm the Business Development Manager for Interswitch Lending and Data Service. So the product that we just displayed now speaks on our salary loans for institutions. We have a platform called QuickTeller where we drive lending. So what we are doing now is that we are onboarding institutions, whitelisting their staffs, that they can go to that platform, request for a loan, and in 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, the loans are disbursed to your account. The beauty is that you don't have to move your salary. We're not going to say don't move your salary from this account to the other account. Your salary remains where the salary has always been. And we just whitelist you, have a good handshake with the HR team, and you can easily come to the platform, request for a loan, and the loan is disbursed to your account. So if you're interested in this service, you want to onboard your employees, I'll be at the back, we can discuss. Then I notice we have a lot of MFBs here. We also have solutions like the data reference service. You want to plug into the online space. You are looking for, most banks do campaigns from time to time. You tell people to come to your platform to request for a loan. They come to your platform and you're unable to give them a loan. That's because you don't have enough information about them. But we have a service where you can plug into our API, data reference API, and we can provide information about some of the people you want to lend to. We also have a solution called sentiment analysis, where we help you track what people are saying about your product. Today, you cannot overlook what the social media space is doing. When a customer comes to your platform and says something negative about your brand, if you don't nip it at the bud, there's a high level that it will escalate. So we have a sentiment analysis solution where you can track those comments, you can engage those people immediately, and try to de-escalate whatever thing that can affect your brand. So we have a lot of solutions in our lending space. If you're interested, I'll be at the back and we can discuss further. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. All right, so we'll be going over to SMS as well as USSD. And the presentation will be taken by Yanoluwa Minigbo. Media, please, SMS and USSD.
Nobody likes to wait, especially when it comes to transaction alerts. Now imagine a customer makes payment, but SMS takes forever to drop. Frustration sets in. Trust is shaky. But with Interswitch messaging service, you get a high-performance SMS solution that delivers your messages in real time. Whether it's transaction alerts, OTPs, promotional messages, or even birthday wishes. It is designed for enterprises that send millions of messages daily. Our solution guarantees high throughput, fault tolerance, and seamless integration into your existing system. And guess what? We've got you covered with 24/7 free support and 99.8 platform uptime, whether you're sending locally or internationally. With Interswitch messaging services, your messaging just got smarter, faster, and more live.
Want to reach millions of mobile users instantly? Then you need USSD. When customers need to access your services, they do not want delays. They want speed, comfort, simplicity, and a service that just works. With the Interswitch USSD Gateway, we bridge the gap between your mobile users and your business, delivering high-speed, real-time communication anytime, anywhere. With our high processing speed and our seamless integration to mobile network providers with 100% end-to-end security, we can ensure your smooth, secure, and uninterrupted services. Do you need a USSD code? We handle that as well, from acquisition to hosting and full implementation and integration to your mobile network providers, so you can focus on growing your own business. And there's more. Our offline banking services leverages on our USSD infrastructure, allowing your mobile app to function seamlessly without internet data, ensuring uninterrupted access for your users. So what are you waiting for? Come on board our platform.
And I work in a team in Interswitch called Digital Interactive Commerce. And like the name implies, we basically provide you with channels and means to offer services to your customers. Now, for SMS service, we've been able to run this service for over 10 years, and we've built an extensive network where we have over 700 network providers on our platform, and we've been able to deliver messages to
over 157 countries across the world. So we offer you an efficient and fast SMS service, whether you want to do promotional messages, transactional, OTPs, and the likes. We're able to offer you this on our SMS platform. We understand that some of the MFBs here today are already on board on our platform, but for those who are not, we would be more than happy to have you join our system, or come on board on our system where you enjoy fast and efficient SMS delivery. Another channel that we're able to provide today is the USSD channel. Like we know, we cannot underestimate or undermine what USSD or the role of USSD in financial inclusion. So we're able to also offer you USSD services. It could be shared service where you do not have your own short code and you want to leverage on another one. We're able to provide you with that. Or you want to secure your own dedicated short code. Now, this cuts across different sectors, whether MFBs, government institutes who want to use it for collections, for transactional type of transactional situations as well. We're able to offer you that. So for SMS and USSD, we've been able to very well function and deliver value in this space. Now, beyond just providing you USSD, what we've done is also to try and ensure that your customers are able to use this USSD and drive retention and usage. And with that, we've developed point-based system, point-based rewards, where for every time your customers complete a transaction on USSD, they can earn a point. And these points can now be accumulated over time, and they can earn airtime, data. So that way, they continue to engage and use your USSD, and they also know that at the end of the day, they stand a chance of earning something, which in turn increases your transactional volume. If you'd like to get more details regarding SMS or USSD, or even the point-based rewards, we'll be right there at the demo area, and you can ask any questions. We'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, so we'll be moving ahead to the next presentation, which will be on the mobile banking as a service. The presentation slide will be showed. There's no video, but there will be a presentation slide that will be displayed. And I have Olawale Olowu to do the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been a long day, but please just give me some few minutes. As introduced, my name is Olawale, also a business development manager at Interswitch with the mobile financial service unit. A lot of product has been spoken about, but I want to speak to you about making available data shiners to your customers. In this day and age, almost everybody in this building have more than one phones, and also your customers. So if, as a bank, you have a mobile application for your customers, it's also a medium to provide them value and as well make additional revenue to your organization. So as Interswitch, we've built some white label solution for MFBs. Yes, we can as well build a custom mobile application, internet banking, whether retail or corporate. But for the purpose of this presentation, we have what is known as mobile banking as a service. Great. So we have what is known as mobile banking as a service. The functionality are limited, but I can assure you it does all the core banking related functionality. As you can see on the screen, once you come on board on this platform, yes, we are going to integrate it to your core banking system, irrespective of what core banking system you use. And your customers will be able to do all this transaction, and whether it's buy airtime, data, or do transfer, yes. We also have something larger than this, but for purpose of this session. So the interesting thing about this solution is in less than or about 2 months, an application is ready for your customer to start integrating with. The cost. For the purpose of this session, we've decided to say, let's give you something to take back as discount. So we've removed from the actual cost a 25%. However, it's for those that are present here at this session. So working in conjunction with my sales team, we will definitely want to identify with those persons so that after this session today, you can still take advantage of that. But it's only for a period of 1 month. After 1 month, we'll go back to the original price. For management of this platform, us as Interswitch would manage all infrastructure related to it. So you don't need to bother yourself about having in-house infrastructure or your technical team if you don't have robust technical team. All those headaches have been taken away from you. So we will definitely handle that. So some of the opportunity and benefit as described here. So support-wise, we are there to work with you. This is what the screen of the app looks like. So it's not totally off what is obtainable in the market. So we are not giving you a less inferior solution. Security-wise, everything expected is available. As previously said by other speakers, yes, I'm available behind to speak more about this if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Olawale. All right, so I'll be speaking on the next presentation, which is our digital banking solutions, which includes iPass, IBAS, and ISAS. So iPass is simply our Interswitch payment as a service. Please, next slide. Okay, so it is Interswitch payment as a service, which we always often refer to as the ASP FAP. So while the panel session was going on, one thing that Tina mentioned is the fact that we want all the MFBs, the OFIs, the fintechs to be financially inclusive. And, you know, the people that are closest to people who are unbanked are the MFBs, are the fintechs, are the OFIs. So we're saying Interswitch payment as a service, how can we do the same thing that we do for the commercial banks? You know, there is something that Interswitch has done over the years, is to partner with ACI, which has given us a front-end processor. And this front-end processor is what we've given to commercial banks to perform transactions, to be able to connect to different global schemes. And we're saying, how can we bring this closer to the MFBs? And we've come up with this solution called Interswitch Payment as a Service, or our ASPFEP, which is a shared front-end processing platform, which helps you to carry out different transactions. So thus view it as ASPFEP as a central engine that helps you to connect to Interswitch's platforms, that also helps you to connect to different global schemes and global platforms to enable you to perform transactions seamlessly and on time, and also in real time. Because this is what a lot of MFBs are looking for. We're looking for ways that we can perform these transactions, operate on POS, on mobile, on web, and perform these functions for, you know, our unbanked people who we are closest to. So the different offerings that also come hand in hand with the Interswitch payment as a service, we offer the POS, which is the pin change, ATM driving, quick teller services, which quite a number of you use, pay code, pay direct, and USSD, which Ianu spoke about. So this is basically what the ASPFEP or iPass, which is Interswitch payment as a service, offers to MFBs. And then the next offering is the IBAS, which is Interswitch banking as a service. So this is simply our core banking solution. I know quite a number of people have come to meet us to say, oh, we are on one core banking solution, how can we migrate to another? And this is us doing a presentation to show you the different features of our core banking solution. So our core banking solution is an omni-channel suite that allows you to perform different functions. You are able to integrate to over 400 ready APIs. So if you are looking for a system that allows you to do loan management, you are looking for a system that allows you to do account management, this is the solution that you need. We have over 400 ready integration APIs on onboarding, KYC, which is also a very important function that we cannot overemphasize. Know your customer is something that you can find available on our core banking solutions, on our core banking system, account and deposits, fraud and EML, loan and collaterals. I'll still come back to fraud. But these are some of the ready APIs that you are able to integrate to when you come on board our core banking system. It's very easy to integrate to. It's not something that, so one thing or a very important advantage of having the solutions is that you don't have to think about the high cost of getting an infrastructure because it is already hosted in the Interswitch environment. So you are not focused on how to maintain this infrastructure. All you are thinking about is, oh, how do we perform all these APIs? And we already have that in suits that is available for you to use. And now moving to the last product, which is the ISaaS, which is Interswitch Security as a Service. I know, we've heard a lot of stories about accounts being exposed to fraud, money laundering, but Interswitch has come up to say, security is not just a talk. It's not just something you just say, but it is a process, and it is built on promise and trust. And this is what Interswitch is offering you. Interswitch Security as a System, it enables you to have access to different modules that can prevent digital banking fraud, payment fraud. It has advanced fraud analytics tools. It helps you monitor fraud in real time. So this solution is real time and on time. So you are not being triggered about the fraud after it has happened. So while fraud is about happening, you get a trigger, you get an alert that helps you to know that, yes, there is a fraud about taking place. So it has advanced fraud analytics. It shows you all the details you need to see. It has card emerging payment, fraud protection for emerging and traditional payment forms, and a comprehensive and effective internal threat monitoring. So if you are going to be buying our ESP, FEP, or any of our solutions, we sell our ISaaS solution as well with it, so that you are well protected against fraud. And basically, this sums up what we have in our digital banking in a box. If you need more information, we'll be right at the back, the demo area, to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much. And moving on to the next presentation, we'll be having a presentation by our skill base. That's the training team. They will be explaining the different training modules that we have as Interswitch. And like we said earlier, these presentations are not limited to the number of products that we have in Interswitch. Once the QR code is fixed, we have quite a number of other products that we're unable to display today. But once you're able to scan the code, you'll be able to see as well as other products that you can have access to. Yes, Increase, please come up. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, my name is Increase, and as we all know, education is the bedrock upon which innovation is birthed. So, so skill-based is the professional services business at Interswitch, and we provide training programs around postillion software solutions, digital payments, just like this one, but I'll talk about this last. Fintech operations, fraud and regulatory compliance, cybersecurity, information technology, and data. We also provide leadership trainings, both locally and internationally. Like we have a few international trainings coming up. Just last week, we concluded one, digital payment operations for managers. That's a digital payment operations training for mid-level to senior level managers that's held in Kenya. We had well over 20 top managers within the digital payments ecosystem that attended that training program. We're also looking to have an upcoming training in the UK that is exclusive for C-suite executives. That's the CEOs and MDs in the UK around building a digital business, right? That's a very deep training for senior executives, C-suite executives. This year we are looking to have people like Mitchell himself and people like the CEO of MoneyPoint. However, coming down back to where we are at right now, we have one coming up. So a few months ago, some MFBs reached out to mention a key pain point Because typically, most times, because we don't have a lot of people in Lagos, most people are outside Lagos, right? So most times, for this training, network back office operations, processing, settlements, reconciliations, disputes management, and customer support, which is a very key, solution that most MFBs provide, right? A lot of MFBs have to send their participants to attend the trainings virtually, and most times, because the training is a practical, hands-on training, participants are not able to get as much as they need. That's where you see some people in the training, maybe they're allowed to take the training maybe remotely, and someone is cooking in the kitchen and attending a class. So, but now we have decided to bring it home. From sometime in April, we started doing the regional trainings where we organize network back office training regionally. We've done one in Asaba, we've done in Uyo. So we are bringing this to Abuja. So it's an opportunity where you can send delegates from your banks, 2-3 people to attend. The training is just tomorrow and next. We've been talking about it for over a month now. And I know that some people don't know about it, but this is an opportunity. You can leverage this time where you're here. You can extend your stay by 2 days and attend the training. So the training speaks to fundamentals of transaction processing, dispute resolution, settlements, reporting and reconciliations, card schemes and their peculiarities, dispute management, which is a key problem that most of us have. Settlement is a hands-on settlement. We have hands-on settlement practicals. Please do send your participants and ask them to bring real-time settlement issues that we would use as practicals during the training, and also teach them how to settle themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Increase. I would like to emphasize a bit on this training. In my small time managing business in the North, I've seen that lacuna that most times when we organize virtual training, people don't get to understand what was taught. And so at the end of the day, you see that what you have taught, they can't really demonstrate it in the real sense, ensuring that they do settlement, they resolve disputes, they know how to make card requests and all of that. And that's why we are bringing it to us. The training is happening tomorrow and next tomorrow. That's Wednesday tomorrow and Thursday. It's a 2-day power-packed training, hands-on. It's not the theory. It will be as much as practical as possible. And so, if you want to join that class tomorrow, you can meet with us at the back, any of my colleagues at the back, so that we can give you the enrollment process. But that process must be completed today before you be allowed to join in the class tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to be moving on to the next item on our agenda, and that would be the award presentation. We'll be giving awards to the outstanding MFBs in this region. And to present the awards, please welcome with me Oge and Folashade. And also to call the names, I'll be having Michael Obinyo and Ayo Tanimowo. Please, a warm round of applause for them as they come up.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, gentlemen, ladies, Fintechs, MFBs. Well, this is the time where we've said a lot, and interestingly, and it's all about the major and the key thing, which is United Frontiers, right? Growth by innovation, collaboration, and compliance. And we just want to take our time. Every one of you here, please put a round of applause for yourself, please. Thank you for being that dogged and that defiant in coming to collaborate and partner with Interswitch. But at this instance, we want to award certain people, certain players, certain partners, and collaborators that has helped in the course of our journey in the not too distant past, right? But also looking towards a brighter future as well. And we don't, and please permit us, we want to state that you are all worthy of appreciation and recognition. But however, we just want to, like first amongst equals, highlight and bring certain people into, area of where we would appreciate them for a lot of things they've done in the past, few months. So first on our list, we're going to award is, I will just read out the name, Fortis Mobile Money Limited. Fortis Mobile Money Limited. Put your hands together. They are part of the, our partners that have worked with the state government for, credit transfers, the NCTO project, and they did tremendously well. Transactions, empowering Nigeria, and empowering beneficiaries to receive benefits from the government. Please put your hands together as they take their photograph with the award, Fortis Mobile Money Limited. Be sure they are smiling. Thank you so much, Fortis Mobile Money Limited, for a tremendous work and collaboration. Next on our list, we're going to be awarding Interswitch Technologies Limited. Are they here? Interswitch, put your hands together. All the way from Kaduna. Put your hands together. They have done extremely well, providing core banking solution application. Okay. My apologies. They said my head is too big. Okay. All right. So joining him is the Regional Business Head for the Northwest, Joel. Please, I'm sure they are smiling. Photographer. Put your hands together while they are all the way from Kaduna, providing technology, enabling collaboration at the public sector level, and working with the Interswitch in that dimension. Thank you so much, Interswitch. Next on our list is Visual ICT. Visual ICT. I'm informed that they are around here. All right, please put your hands together. Put your hands together. They're also part of our partners, our collaborators towards the credit lending project with the NCTO. Tremendously well to empower beneficiaries towards the federal government initiative of credit financing. Yes, please ensure they are smiling once again. Thank you so much, Visual ICT. Now we're moving on from the fintechs to the microfinance banks. And I know a lot of microfinance banks have come from far and wide. We want to acknowledge them. And interestingly, some have done tremendous transactions where you did not believe it could be possible. First on our list, we want to recognize and applaud Emma MFB. Emma MFB, all the way from Kano. They made it happen. In spite and despite transactions blossoming at very remote and distant hinterlands of the extremities of Kano State, they automated and financially included what was not believed to be possible. They made it possible. Put your hands together, please. Emma MFB, partnering with Interswitch. And joining him, yes, the Regional Business Head for the Northwest as well, North Central Kano. Next on our list, yes, they are here in Abuja, and I believe their MD was amongst the panel of judges or the panel crew. And I want to particularly award them and applaud them for their dogged approach towards the farming sector. Tanadi MFB, Sasula. Please, your attention is needed here. He's at the back, probably conducting some interviews. Please, we need you on the stage, sir. Thank you, Tanadi MFB. But now they have changed their name to Cross MFB, right? Cross MFB. They're going to crush some things and make things happen. Put your hands together, please. Cross MFB, tremendous transaction, providing solutions towards the farming, the agro-allied sector, and doing tremendously well. Please smile brightly, because they came from far and they've done a lot. Thank you so much. Next on our list, all the way from Nasarawa State, just some part of Nasarawa State, they said that they wanted to be the next staple name that would include, the financially excluded. So they went ahead and with full-fledged, they've done tremendously well. Put your hands together for Cash Bridge MFB, all the way from Nasarawa State. Put your hands together, Cash Bridge MFB. Chief, you're welcome, sir. Providing agency banking solutions, POS transactions, and automating the financially excluded sectors and platforms all the way and within Nasarawa State. Put your hands together. Smile brightly, sir. Chief, it's not easy. But we are here. Congratulations, sir. Right. Okay. Next on our list, this has been one of the most reoccurring and consistent in the aspect of providing value to the nook and cranny of the northern business and even beyond the north towards other sectors. But we are privileged to have them domiciled here in the north. Not just because they're an affiliation to CBN, but because they really desire to transform and to ensure things are done in a collaborative manner with compliance. Put your hands together for NISAL MFB. NISAL MFB. Please come to the podium to receive your award. I want to recognize you and thank you for the tremendous transactions and problems and challenges that you overcame together. But that's the beauty of technology. When there are issues, as long as you have solutions, you keep improving and innovating. Please smile brightly. NISAL MFB. Thank you, sir. And last on our list for this session, we just want to make welcome Safe Haven MFB. Safe Haven MFB, put your hands together. You know, when you see an MFB that you begin to ask them, are you sure an MFB or are you a commercial bank? Because the rate at which you are onboarding technology is interestingly astronomical. I want to appreciate you. You've done tremendously well. A lot of hardware onboarding towards providing value for the northern hemisphere in Nigeria. Safe Haven MFB. All right. We just want to thank you all, and we trust that a lot of you will be here for our next event. Of course, this is annual TechConnect, so TechConnect 6.0. We're going to have probably half of this whole hall awarded here, and we trust that will happen. Is that possible? All right. Okay. For those that are not here, because they are award recipients, and we just wanted to acknowledge them, and would probably call their names just to acknowledge the fact that they were supposed to be awarded, but for some reason they couldn't make it, maybe because of some challenges beyond their control. So we'll just get that information and share currently.
Thank you so much. We would like to also acknowledge Dynatech Solutions System Limited. Please, a round of applause for them, as well as Extra Cash Limited. All right, so like we knew, the QR codes at the back of our cards had some issues. So please, let's scan this. If you would like to give feedback about the event, as well as to see the other products, please let's scan the QR code displayed on the screen. We can do that now. We're already at the end of the event. I know we've had a very beautiful, entertaining session. So our minds have been fed. It's time for our bodies to also be fed. Are we excited? Yes, so we have some exciting lunch. But we wouldn't be having the lunch here. We'll be directed to a lounge where we'll be having lunch. So as soon as we're done with the event, as you go out to receive your gifts, you'll be directed to where we'll be having lunch. We just want to say a very big thank you to everyone for coming. And to give the closing remarks, I would like to call Michael Obiyan for the closing remarks. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure. All right, thank you. Yeah, it's working now. Thank you.
I was wondering, the mic wants to close before the event. The mic is having his own mind. Technology, right? All right. Once again, we want to thank every one of you for the privilege of coming here out of a very busy schedule. That mic has actually closed. So, but this one is about to close. So I should be fast. All right. We're going to actually, bring this event, very eventful, insightful, informative, and enlightening, to an actual close. But why we do that, we earnestly and sincerely want to appreciate every one of you coming from your various locations, places of work, residence, taking out time. We understand certain people had to juggle schedules to be here. We want to really appreciate you. Once again, please put a hand of applaud for yourself. Put a round of applause for yourselves, please. Thank you so much from wherever you're coming from, all the various entities, MFBs, financial technologies, as well as representatives of federal bodies, both the public and private sector. I want to thank you all tremendously well. But just a few notes. I want to specifically thank, or we as Interswitch want to specifically, thank the keynote speaker, the Executive Secretary of the National Association of Microfinance Bank, for his thought-provoking keynote address, which reminded us that collaboration is merely not an option, but necessity for sustainable growth. We want to thank him earnestly. Special appreciation as well to Eddie Bassi Orok, that's the Executive Secretary of the National Association of Microfinance Banks Nigeria. Yes, also want to thank for the panel session, the policy and innovation and partnerships, the theme aligning for scalable growth. We want to thank them, each and every one that also were here for their perspectives that reaffirm that growth is most impactful where it is inclusive, strategic, and aligned with strong policy and compliance framework. I want to thank the Fireside Chat crew as well. I want to thank them earnestly. Dr. Charles Bassi, Thomas Eze, as moderated by Suliat earlier. Thank them for that session, very enlightening as well, and as well informative. So TechConnect 5.0, yes, which is, of course, our annual event to bring every stakeholder in this major ecosystem together where we could rub minds and enlighten on ideas towards innovation, growth, collaboration, and compliance. Interestingly, we're going to have another session in Lagos. That is for this year, because we do it regionally, and it's on the 11th of November in Lagos. And so you would have all those publications through our tabloids, through our social media panels, Interswitch LinkedIn. You see all that information for your consumption. And we want to ensure that a lot of us who have our affiliates and colleagues as well as friends that will also attend, right? And as Interswitch, we remain deeply committed to powering Africa's digital future. And TechConnect, right, is not just going to be an annual evening, an annual or a yearly event where we come together. It's now going to be a movement, more like a drive for us to keep, being desirous and passionate about, automating and putting Nigeria where we should be in the scheme of technology, innovation, and collaboration, leveraging on compliance as well. So TechConnect, 5.0, this year's session or this year's event, typically, we would say that we're deeply committed as Interswitch to still empowering Africa's digital future, and it being a movement that unites TechConnect, that unites forward-thinking leaders who share our vision of a seamlessly connected ecosystem where every innovation opens new frontiers for growth. We move towards, ensuring that this dream, this desire, it keeps brewing and keeps driving and producing, the results that we so much expect, not just for Nigeria, but for, Africa. And on this note, we will continue to create financial solutions that not only simplify transactions, but also empower businesses and communities across Africa. Once again, I want to thank you all for being part of TechConnect 5.0 in Abuja. We look forward to deepening our partnerships and exploring new frontiers as we proceed together. So until we meet again, stay connected, stay innovative, keep switching Africa's growth. And please, right before you leave, some few announcements, just right before you leave. There's some things we have in store. Please ensure that you don't leave in a hurry. Because remember, it's TechConnect. We are not just to disconnect. We are to remain what? Connected. All right? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Please, if you've not scanned the QR code, please do so. The QR code, yes. And please drop your feedback for us. We would greatly appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much. Please, let's move out now. Pick your gifts, and you can proceed to the lunch area. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Thank you so much.
We see it move. We see it move swiftly, securely, intelligently. But by itself, money has no meaning. Until ingenuity turns it into solutions. Compassion turns it into a gift. And curiosity into innovation. With it, passion and dreams build incredible things. Belief builds impossibilities, even the future itself. And connection reminds us how to be human, how to stay human. At Interswitch, we don't just move money, we keep people moving, so that when it matters the most, you don't lose out on the moments. Interswitch, never stop.